Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I'm here with Joe. How are you, Joe?
I'm all right, Perch. How are you?
It's Friday. We're drinking. I'm coming up with more ideas for the Punisher. Nice. That's like right there.
Yeah.
That's official. This is probably when you put the drink in a glass. There's no. I can kind of jiggle the ice around, but that doesn't work.
You got to go cheap in a can for the effect.
I love it. I'm gonna, we're going for Molson next week for me. That's what we're doing. But
yeah.
What a fun week.
Sure.
I got to thank you again for doing the fun Punisher stuff with me. It was. I'm glad that most people got the joke. A few people didn't.
Yeah. There was the one comment that was like, "Are you serious with these? These pitches?"
No. The answer is no. I got a mail. I can only assume that the person dipped out at like 2 minutes in, and they heard us kind of joking about, I wonder why the Punisher's in the news, because the guy sends me a very long summary of exactly why the Punisher was in the news to help, fill me in. And it's like, thanks for that. But anyway,
yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining us on a Friday. Hope your week wasn't too nuts. As you can tell, we're drinking. I'm having an old fashioned, which is an old person drink, apparently.
Nice.
It's got old right in the name.
It does.
Yeah. And what do you got today?
Well, I was looking online for ideas of what to drink, and apparently people can't get enough of this twisted tea.
Yeah.
So I picked up one of those, and later I found out apparently a man just brutalized another man with a twisted tea.
Oh, what? Oh no.
It's crazy. The internet's a crazy place. And also I had the choice at the 7-Eleven of the original, which would have been keeping with the version that beat a man senseless.
Oh, very nice.
But I decided against that, went with the half and half, which is the Arnold Palmer, because apparently earlier this week, no one knew what the fucking Arnold Palmer was.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
But hey, I see we've got another special guest ad. Should we bring him in here? Let's do it.
Please.
Yeah. Well, hey, Jeff,
Hi.
are you there?
You tell me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great. Hello.
Yeah, I got a new mic from the last time, so hopefully it won't be as staticky.
Oh, no.
That's awesome.
You sounded good last time, and it's thanks for joining us. You had a big week this week.
Dude, what the hell? Oh my god. What the hell? Yeah, it's been okay. I literally just got in. What were you guys talking about? I see some sort of booze situation on the screen.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a bit. So every week do this live show, and I'm always drinking, so I put up what I'm drinking. Are you drinking anything right now?
I don't drink. I'm a teetotaler.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
My brain is already messed up enough. I don't need to do anything to it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
In a way, I'm kind of meeting you both halfway, because I picked up a twisted tea at 7-Eleven.
Very nice. Yes, you straddle between. I think a lot of people have the impression that I am just constantly liquored up, but really,
no, not with your daughter. I heard you talking with your daughter. That was adorable.
Oh, thank you very much. No, she does call me an alcoholic, but yes, no, it's all good. It's just kind of fun. It's Friday, and we just have some nice fun. But I'm really thankful you came back. You said you would, and you're here. You are.
Everything I say is true.
There you go.
Yes, excellent.
Sometimes what I say is that's none of your business, but it's still true.
Well, that is all super fair, I've got you. Joe announced you've got a book this week. Here, I should do that. See, I'm now all the little pages are all messed up here. So
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's sweet of you to share. It's
look at that.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a new book from Mad Cave Studios. I've been working with them since like the middle of last year, putting this together. It's been a lot of fun. It's really inspired by a lot of kind of like the 90s anime kind of stuff I like,
Gotcha.
like Cowboy Bebop, stuff like that.
Love it.
And we found this artist, what was it? Sweeney Boo I've worked with before, did the covers.
Awesome. awesome.
She's
like,
incredible.
I need to quit every time I see any of her pieces. I'm like, I'm done. I have to quit now. Like,
yeah,
damn.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. It's been getting a lot of support from the publisher, which is nice. It's not always the case, but yeah.
I get everything digitally. Will I be able to get this on Comixology?
You'll absolutely be able to get this on Comixology.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, I'm all over it. Trust me, I will get this book.
Thank you.
I love. I've got two people who are super talented here with me. I'm the schlub drinking, so that's
you're stupid.
I'm meeting you both ways. I'm also a schlub, and I'm drinking.
Yeah,
I don't drink, and my wife describes me as a lumbering doofus. Does that count?
We're all in good partnership here
Okay.
today. We're gonna do. I need to. It's very much. I find so much of the conversation gets dominated by Marvel and DC. And we're about to talk about DC here with Jeff, but it is. I want to put a lot more emphasis because there's a lot of really good stuff going on in the indie scene.
I think that side doesn't get enough credit in general because everything's sort of described as not one of the big two, rather than there's a giant market dominated by these two companies, but the whole rest of the market is other people doing other things. Like, that's half of all the comics.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It is. And you know, there was this list that got shared around today or this week around the top graphic novels here in 2020, and I don't think there was a Marvel or DC book on that top.
Hey, the direct market reaps what it sows. So, you know, they left a wide open field for other people to jump into. Kirkman ate that alive. The various manga companies ate that alive, and you know, we are where we are. But the good news is, for folks like Joe and theoretically myself, it's not even Wild West out there. It's like, go west and plant your flag. Like, you know, have a ball.
I love it.
Something everyone seems to forget too is it all ebbs and flows, because in the early 2000s, the manga market crashed. Everyone said, you know, the piracy ruined it, and acted like it was never going to recover. And it's completely done a 180.
Yeah. I mean, publishing in general, like, I remember, like, there's been a lot of conversation about, and rightly so, about the bloodbath at DC and what's going to happen at Marvel in terms of editorial and all that. But publishing, regular book publishing, went through that about 15 years ago, where there was a lot of consolidation and a lot of larger companies buying what had just been, it's not Random House, but let's say it was Random House. And they're like, well, you're redundant. You cost too much. You know, and they killed their own institutional memory. They killed their own experiential memory, right? And there was some talk of, I guess digital world is going to eat traditional publishing alive. Book publishing is doing fairly well these days. Like, you know, so I think that there's sometimes when there's a so-called paradigm shift, the audience takes a second to figure out where they want to plant their feet. And then once they do, you see what you're seeing now.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. I love that there's a lot of opportunity out there. A lot of money's being made in different areas. I think the fact that you've got the ability to actually make some cash and get some momentum in many different places instead of just a couple, it's going to help a lot of people.
Sure, and I appreciate what you've been doing. A couple of other people do it in slightly different angles, but there's one of the great things about YouTube in general is you can find how-tos on almost anything, and they're good how-tos. They're not crap how-tos. And what I've liked recently is how to make your own graphic novel, how to distribute your own graphic novel, right? How to hire an artist, how to work with a writer. Like, these are things that are just just put them into a YouTube search, and you'll get a lot of people opining, but some of the opinions are genius. Like, it's good stuff, man. Go forth and build, I say.
Free advice. I've been teasing people with it, and I meant to do something this week, won't. But I'm going through this slow laborers project of making my own comic, and part of that's going to be as I work with the printer and put all that stuff. I'm just going to show all the math. I'm going to film videos of very dry videos going to the website, filling things out. Like, do it. But
people who are serious minded will take that stuff to heart. Like, I've learned a great deal about. I'm a total coward about things like Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all that. I've seen other friends of mine do it. I've participated in the sense of being a contributor to somebody else's campaign or whatever, but it never, like, I've just been way too cowardly to stick my neck out in that arena. But it's a gold mine if you can do it right. You can gold mine in the sense that you can make what you want to make, which isn't what everybody wants to do. Like, anyway,
I love it. Well, we'll move around a little bit here, but well, actually, before we move off Beckstar, real quick, Joe.
Sure.
Give it like the 30-second. What are, if we're picking up this comic, what are we going to get?
Other than sci-fi action, it's a lot of I should have did this before I started drinking. But basically, it's about this girl Beckstar used to be part of a mercenary gang. They broke up, and now she's trying to find her life and where she fits in when her life used to all sort of be set up for her. And now the people that were important to her are now detrimental to her life and safety. And she has to figure out how to navigate this world and find a place of her own while dealing with the people who used to be her world.
Nice.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm ready for it.
I want to read that for sure. So, on the spirit of like other sci-fi things, let me again jump down here. Here we go. So then there was another big launch. We had Green Lantern this week, Future State. You prepped us for it.
I tried to.
Yeah, it was. So I put this next to the side, and this is my own thing. Joe and I are both big fans of Legion of Superheroes. I think, Joe, you're reading this 5 years later bit right now.
Oh my God.
I
Is that not the best?
It's incredible. Especially, I just did a whole Silver Age Legion reread into the Bronze Age.
Right.
Because I have all the archive editions.
Right.
So I pick up this omnibus and I'm reading. So it's all fresh in my mind when they keep referencing all the stuff, like when they do the, Laurel Gand stuff as
Andromeda.
I love it so much.
No, there was a lot of eras of comic books are wave fronts. So there's a lot of people who just don't know about a lot of this stuff. But if you've been reading them for a long time, like Perch picked up on a bunch of stuff in the Future State that to me was just like, this is how you write a story like this. But if you've been reading the right books for long enough, there's a stack of Easter eggs all through this thing.
Yeah.
And that's not accidental. It's actually with intent. But you'll find out in issue 2, you'll see what I meant. Let me put it like that. But that era of the Legion of Superheroes, the Giffen Beerbaum, it can't be touched. I still don't think anyone's touched it. It's just glorious.
Yeah.
What's funny is my, I started reading comics. Legion came later for me. And actually this comic, this number 1 was the first new issue of Legion I read. I started here. And it was confusing because they did this time skip. I mean, it was clear there was something going on. Then I worked my way backward.
Awesome.
And I loved it. It was so wonderful going backward from there.
Yeah, man. All I have to do is say Kent Shakespeare, and everyone in the room who smiles, I know where they've been. Yeah. Like, it's just awesome. I recommend it. And it holds up, by the way, because the art style was so sort of ahead of its time in a way.
Oh, yeah.
That you could drop this right now and say, hey, here's this new Legion book. Half the people would not even know and just buy into it. Like, it is just, it's a chef's kiss of a comic.
There you go. Yeah. I would love to see this. I'd love to see this book out now. I mean, I would love to replace the current run with this.
Everybody's Legion is somebody's Legion.
That's true. It's for everybody. But I don't know. So you were definitely this run of yours, and it was or this first issue, and it's very hard to gauge things from one comic, but it did have the feel. I mentioned this elsewhere in the video of it. You were doing the glimpse into the future, but you tied in existing races, existing aliens, faces we recognized. You made them different in cases, but you didn't go all new. And it always feels like the mistake people make is they make it so different.
We call it a hat on a hat in the TV business, where you'll be doing something and it's really cool. And they're like, but what if she was a sorceress too? And I'm like, she's already James Bond. Like, why is he also a sorceress? That's a hat on a hat. Right?
I like that.
Let's just pull it back and have her just be badass James Bond. Let's all stop now. But with this, I think, again, comics move so fast and it's so fluid. And now with this shakeup from death metal and what we're sort of replanting our feet, but the last 3 or 4 issues that came out of this whole death metal saga have basically said to the fans, everything that you know that you like is true. Mm-hmm. So from my point of view, I was like, oh, that means everything is now fair game. Like, I can pick and choose from any part of any lore, as long as it's not directly contradictory, what to use or not use. In this case, apparently in the Superman book, John Kent browbeat the big races of the universe into the beginnings of the United Planets. Like, you guys have to form the United Planets. You're idiots, and you need to form the United Planets. I'm the son of Superman. Do what I tell you. And they said yes, and I was like, whoa, because in the Legion, that's just civilization. Like, the United Planets is just the United States. It's just, we have it. That's it. Right. And there are things outside it, but it is vast and filled with all these creatures who have been that way for at least 500 years minimum. Now we're saying it's roughly 1,000, right? So we're at the beginning of that. And I was like, well, if anybody knows how the League of Nations started or how the UN started, it wasn't an easy ride. So DC was like, this is a ripple effect. Do you want to mess with it? And I was like, I feel like this is a galactic police force, an intergalactic, theoretically, police force. I think we kind of have to, don't we? Yeah. Right? So they're like, yeah, all right. And they like my pitch or how to deal with it. So yeah, that's going to be that ripple effect is going to be part of the Green Lantern book. The ripple effect of the United Planets is definitely going to be part of the Green Lantern book. And you'll see that right away in issue 1. Like, what does this mean for the Green Lanterns?
I like that. I like that you're taking something that was kind of a lot of comics throw these things out, and then you never really know if the company wants to continue with it or not. And it was something that was set up heavy in Superman. So I like that you're touching on that. That's great.
Well, I feel like, to me, one, I don't read Superman, so this was, I wouldn't say it was a shock to me, but I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool. But the thing I think that when you're working in indie comics, it's you. You're the editor. You're the company. You make up all the rules. You can do whatever you want. But whenever you get in with one of these big giant conglomerates, they have an agenda too. So you've pitched them a story that goes from A through B to C, but they're like, could we have a B.1 and a B.5 thrown in there before you get to C? And then you have to look at the story you were trying to tell and go, I mean, let me think. Let me look at it. Like, I wasn't sure the Sun Eater would really fit into this story, but I mean, if he's attacking everyone, it's good that I know now, right? Instead of like 2 months from now when I have no idea where this came from. So, I mean, you've seen it. You've seen writers complain over the years that something pulled them up short and totally upended something they were working on.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I just try to get out in front of that stuff. So it's going to be fun. It's definitely going to be a running theme. It's one of the underpinnings, but there's other stuff. Again, I'll tell you this. This is just because of the Perch audience. Read Legion of Superheroes, the old Legion of Superheroes. Yeah, there are things that are going to be Easter eggs for people who know Legion of Superheroes that nobody else is going to get.
Not just in future state, but kind of going forward with your book.
I mean, from my run. Your
whole run. Oh, yeah. Okay,
like
good.
What you said about picking characters and species and things like that out of the DC mythology, it's huge. Like, the DC mythology is ridiculously huge. Like, so, and there's just no way any single writer could have dealt with every thread. So there's a couple of dangling plot threads that I was like, oh, that's fun. Nobody's touched on that. And it gives I'm going to introduce a potential enemy for the Green Lantern Corps that seems like it's not made up. Let me put it like that. It has a legitimate beef, a legitimate history, a legitimate reason for like, wait, where have these guys been all this time?
Wonderful.
And it's going to be like, well, they've been setting up for this. So, and it's an enemy that they're not used to facing. So whether they have their rings or not, kind of is like, yeah, I mean, it's good we've got the rings, but like that doesn't suck. But these guys are kind of wow.
All right.
So, yeah. So if you especially this era of the Legion of Superheroes, you'll be inside my playbook if you are an aficionado of the Legion of Superheroes.
Excellent.
There you go. Well, like I said, Joe, you're reading this right now, I think.
Yeah, no, it's a good time. That omnibus, it's gorgeous. It is
Total coincidence.
Gorgeous read.
All right. And Jeff has just broken the spoiler that the plaid lanterns are coming, so that's great.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, like you were saying, a lot of writers have their own Spidey mobiles to bear.
Right.
You know.
And you're stuck with it. Like you can either look at it like, oh, this horrible weight, that I have to. Oh, Jesus Christ, really? These guys? Oh my God, really? Or how do I do something clever with it?
Yeah.
And I'm generally a fan of saying yes, like unless it breaks the story completely. Where, like I say, like we've established that there's no Galactus in the DC universe. Like it's not Galactus, but at some point the two companies decide we're going to do a crossover and Galactus is going to attack everybody, but he's going to start with the Green Lanterns. Yeah, but I'm doing this whole thing over here where like you can't really throw Galactus into that pool. First of all, what? Right? And I could have known about this 6 months ago and maybe sort of prepared it, but now you're saying it has to be done basically instantly, and I'm literally this is not real, but let's say you're in the middle of some weird love triangle thing where the Star Sapphires and the Green Lanterns are trying to do something, and Hal and Carol are in a whole weird emotional situation going on, and there's a giant Krona level threat they've got to deal with, and then you throw Galactus at me from another comic book company? What?
Yeah. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, so I'd say no to that. But if they're saying something happened in the Batman book where he's suddenly on Oa, I think I could bend and devote an issue to that. Like, I think I could say, oh, wow, that's weird. But I think I could squeeze him in here, and that has helped me, I think, overall in writing in general. It's just called a pivot. But it because people don't want you to say no. And a lot of people think their idea is super clever. And it's not your job to tell them they're wrong. It's kind of your job to see if you can make it work. So...
Yeah, but I feel like anyone who's doing anything at DC needs to constantly have a plan for what if they need to suddenly drop Batman into the story. That's true.
I mean, but in fairness, there's not a lot of Batman comics.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. When will we get the popularity he's due? Is what I want to know.
It's true.
This poor guy is languishing in obscurity, and nobody pays any attention.
It's a shame. I mean, at least they're going to send him to Europe because Batman's really never traveled outside of Gotham. So
he needs a family too. Is what he really needs is to settle down, get some kids, maybe a girlfriend at least.
Exactly. But no, I mean, it's good. The man fought his way through time to reclaim himself in the present day, but Europe's exciting.
I'm sure it'll be a fun book, but it is one of those cases where the solicitations always kill me. And actually, there's some good questions I want to throw up for you, but I did want to ask, the cover, was that not the real cover? Because
I mean, who knows? At this point, listen, I've seen so many covers. I don't know what's a variant and what's not anymore. I'm not kidding. I've seen so many beautiful covers. Starting with thumbnails, which one do you think is most appropriate? And it's not just me; it's me chiming in with a group of people. So I'm probably getting 1 vote out of 7 potential votes of what the cover will be. But a lot of good artists are coming into play on this, and I've liked a bunch of them, including this cover. I will say, as the first cover to show for what we're going to do with the book, it's misleading. Kelly is definitely in the book. She is by no means the focus of the book.
That's a number one. But I got to thinking, and I wish I didn't say it when I went through everything, but it states in the solicitation there's some variants, but they don't show any variants. flipping through. And then, yeah, the other covers have the trade dress on them. It's got the logo on there, but that one doesn't. It's just a piece of art. So I have suspicions that wasn't right. So
I like I say, it might be the right cover, but it feels, I think, and you pointed this out too, it does, even just the way it's designed, it kind of feels like a variant to me.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like this kind of splash you want to make with a number one. But again, marketing and these sorts of decisions, no one's consulting me. I'm not asking to be consulted. It is what it is.
I thought you were in complete control of all.
Oh, dear God. If only. If only. Yeah. But like, you have right now, you have the Future State Green Lantern cover up. And I would say, as much as I love Clayton Henry's work, which I do, he's great. And that Book of Guy story, I was smiling all the way through it. But the cover that Jamal Campbell did is actually more appropriate for what the story being told was. Because this looks like they sort of threw their rings down and walked away. And that's literally not what happens. So,
well, the characters don't look like they do in the story.
And that's another thing, right? It's like if you're expecting to see these guys, they should have a little disclaimer. None of these people appear in this comic. Like they just don't.
I did get a question. I noticed one person asked, "It's like this is a terrible cover. I don't understand why Jeff Thorne didn't ask Alex Ross to do do the Why wouldn't he get Alex? Ross?
Me and Alex, when we're on the beach together, what we usually talk about is Green Lantern covers. That's the thing. The first thing we get to is the truth is it's just not structured that way. I think one of the reasons it always sounds like a love fest when I'm talking to Perch, which it's like we're not old friends or anything. He's just the one person that I found truly reasonable in all of YouTube. But,
great. There's a lot of good names out there, but sure. But thank you.
No, there are other people. That's a little bit too big. But the point being is that there is part of the reason I even want to do this stuff is there are a lot of misconceptions about how this crap works. Yes. And I just don't have the level of, and nor should I, right? These are corporate properties at the bottom line. Like, I have my little story I want to tell, and I pitched it and they like it, and they're letting me do mostly what I wanted to do. Like I'd say I'm getting to do about 85 to 90% of what I came in with is still in the story. But, that 5 to 10%, that's a lot. And it's all from DC needs these things to happen, right? Yeah. And I don't know who a fan favorite is. Like, I love the artists I love, like any fan does. And if someone said, hey, John Byrne's coming out of retirement, you want him on your book? I might say yes, but I don't know that would be the best choice from the general public point of view, because maybe not everybody loves him as much as I do. So the editors, that's kind of in their area, and they'll say, like, here's a list of folks. I felt we were very lucky that I wanted Tom Rainey and they were cool with that, because they could just as easily said, no, Tom's not right. Take Dexter, which, wouldn't necessarily have bothered me, but I didn't know who the hell Dexter was as a name, because I don't follow comics that way. Right. So I was like, oh, this guy, he's freaking great. Or like the lady who's done this thing, this 10-pager I'm doing for the King in Black thing from Marvel. I'd never heard of her. And somebody was like, oh, this is her art. And I was like, holy crap, yes. Right? Like, let's go. Oh my God. But I would have not known to even ask for her. So, so editorial has a big weight on their shoulders in that regard. They've got to fit it in with the rest of whatever's going on. There's also, you guys will know this better than me, Perch probably more so than anyone in this regard. Each era has fan tastes. So like, if they're really manga-ized or anime-ized is a better way of saying it, and they see something that's a little bit more sort of graphic and more old school from our point of view, old school comic drawing, depending on what year, that might not be considered quote unquote good art, right? And like, I'm looking at the Keith Giffen cover right now, and I'm just like, God, why doesn't he draw more comics? And then I realized, what was this, 1987 or 93 or something like that? Like, this is an old ass comic book.
It is. I think. I don't know. It's interesting though. I think there's, and I don't know what the breakdown would be, but I think there's some artists, like if you put John Byrne on something, people complain about his work looks dated, but I think that would sell books.
I think so too. Yeah. He's really good. Like,
Yeah.
I'm following his, what does he call it? X-Men, whatever. I'm following that fake X-Men he's doing. But his pencils are ridiculous. It's ridiculous. How old is he? 70-something years old? It's nonsense. Just stop it. You're hurting people. Just stop
No,
it.
for sure. It's one of those things, and for people in the chat who's wondering what we're talking about right now, John Byrne has decided to just continue to do X-Men books. And and it's not through Marvel, it's not anything, but you can go and you can, I think you have to register and you can see those.
No, you don't. I'm not registered. You just go to a site and find the thing. But what's weird about it is this is the best fan fiction you will ever see in your life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's insane.
And it's not, what the funny part is, it's not rough breakdowns. It's like super detailed. It's like he's going to the show and wanting to put out books. It's pretty nuts. And it's not like 3 pages. There's like,
it's real.
Or so, I think, at this point.
Must be nice to have that kind of time. Jesus. Holy crap. But yeah, so like, but I'm saying, like, you have to sort of depend on editorial to sort of know what current trends are, and you know who, if you care about this sort of thing, who the hot property is. Like, oh, we'll pair up Jeff with this person, and then that'll put more eyes on the book because they'll show up just for the artist. They won't know who Jeff is, right? But they'll just because Dexter's drawing it, you know. And that's not something I have to work.
Dexter's your ongoing artist. So Tom Rainey's doing the Future State, and then Dexter is your new series artist.
Dexter's starting us out. I don't know what their plans are. I did not know Dexter was coming in until we were about midway through issue 2 of Future State. So I don't know why or if the deck is permanently shuffled. I literally do not know these things. So
gotcha.
We're just right now going over points on issue 1 because there's some redesigns and new designs, and there's a stack of aliens. Oh my God, the poor guy. I just always apologize to these guys because they have to draw so much stuff.
I'm looking forward to seeing. I enjoyed the issue. I thought it was good. I liked the story. Like I said, reminded me of Legion. We got a couple questions here.
Anything.
Actually, before, so Joe, you like, what did you think of the story? Did you?
No, I really liked it for a lot of the same reasons, and I think I brought up to you that it felt very, Legion 5 years later, But Jeff, I also want to ask you now, another misconception I think people have with people working at the Big Two is communication with the creative teams. Like, it's different. Like when you're doing Big Two stuff, that editors don't tend to be like, oh, you and the artists and the colorists and all, you all figure it out and you come to us later.
Oh my God! If only. Jesus Christ. No, it's a lot of email chains. Occasionally there will be a what do you call it? Occasionally you'll do like a sidebar about some very specific point. Whether I hope I'm not annoying them, but occasionally if I don't feel like I've gotten my point across in the actual text, I'll do a quick sketch of this is what I was thinking about, and I'll draw a good version, stuff like that. But it's really very heavy lifting for the editorial because they've got to coordinate all that. We get these gigantic, super long email chains where a piece of artwork comes through, or when the new script draft comes out. There's a little flurry of discussion about, well, what did you mean on page 5 when you said, the dragon eats a bus? And I'm like, oh, well, the dragon eats a bus. And then the artist would be like, wait, are there people in the bus or is it just a bus? Like, is it killing people? Like, I need to know these kind of things, right? That doesn't happen, by the way. That event does not appear in the book. But so it isn't like, okay, you guys got the keys, go. We'll hear from you in 3 weeks when the book's basically ready. It's not like that at all. Not at all.
Excellent.
Maybe it is for the big guns. It's not like that for me.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of misconceptions around how it works, and I think the wrong people get tagged with the wrong assignments, or the belief that certain people are responsible, certain things are clearly not responsible for.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the things about the Future State deal too is it's right there in the title. The Green Lantern book is not going to drop you into this conflict you're seeing in Future State. That is way in the future. It's got to be nothing like that. So if anyone is expecting Mad Max, like hit the ground and it's going to be Mad Max, it's not. It's just straight up not.
It feels like it's going to be a little bit more Green Lantern core than maybe what people traditionally thought of Green Lantern, or is that a fair comment?
I mean, I don't know what to say to that. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, and I don't want to feel like I'm appeasing anyone, because I'm not. I'm still just telling the story I meant to tell. But the Green Lanterns are a core, so any story about any single Green Lantern has to at some point involve the core. It's part of a giant organization. In this case, we're on Oa, and in the solicitation, it tells you they're basically, what are there, 70-something hundred Green Lanterns. Most of them are on Oa right now because of this event. So you're going to see a stack. Like I said, poor Dexter, he's got to draw a lot of lanterns in this first issue, not just green ones. So is it a core book? The book focuses on John Stewart. Let's put it like that. So even if you see a lot of other Green Lanterns, the lens through which we're going to see these stories is how are all these events dealt with and affecting John in this story.
I think maybe some of the pieces, and this is where maybe the publisher just needs to do a little bit better job maybe connecting the dots. And it's they traditionally have had John Stewart, and when I say traditionally, I mean I'm talking more last 20 years, I guess.
Right.
Not that traditional, but where the John Stewart stories were told in Green Lantern Corps. Right. And it was often through, and so that it has that feel to me, like that's the connective thread there. But yeah, I agree with you. By the way, it is a group, and if you're telling a story about Green Lantern, you should be telling the group. It hasn't always
There's
happened.
a stack of them, right? Also, again, I think because I'm unknown to a lot of people, that they don't know what to get with what they're going to get with me. So they're always assuming the worst, which I can't help that because comics are what they are, and maybe they've been taught to assume the worst. I can't go back in time and fix that. Okay. But I will say this: when I took over Avengers, they changed the title from Avengers Assemble to Avengers Black Panther's Quest, and that was with intent. They were saying to the audience, "This is not Avengers Assemble anymore, right? We're changing the design style. We're changing the way we're telling the story. You know, all these things are going to change. Not the least of which is it's now going to focus on the Black Panther, right? But from my point of view as a creator, I was like, well, that's a lot to throw at an audience that's been with you for however many seasons now. How about the first episode is a lot like what they're used to seeing, right? So we're not just like slamming them into the middle of some bizarre thing that they don't know what the hell it is. Like, you can slightly ease them into the idea that we're going to pivot to this direction. So that's generally my attitude when you're coming into something that existed before you got there, especially if you have a big new idea for it. You don't just start with the brand new idea, because that's like coming in with a flamethrower, right? You don't want to alienate or piss off. Piss off, I don't know if I mind, but you don't want to alienate the people in theory who are going to be your core fan base. You want them to recognize Star Trek, right? It's still got to be Star Trek. You know, you can change it in episode 6 to, I don't know, Wizard Trek if you want to, but if you said this is Star Trek and you advertise it as Star Trek and they show up for Star Trek and it's Wizard Trek on day one, you got a problem. A lot of people are going to be mad.
And that's often why they are. I think to people, I get the idea that you want to leave your own mark on something. You want to strike out in your own path. But when you're taking a property with a ton of established continuity, not everybody's going to jump on for the ride.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
So the question is, like I said, and I'm not trying to be evasive. I don't want to spoil anything.
No, please.
Legally not allowed to spoil some things. But I also don't want to give the impression that it's not a John Stewart book. It is definitely a John Stewart book, but he's not John Stewart, the only Green Lantern in existence, because that doesn't exist. All Green Lantern books are about the Green Lanterns, plural, whether they focus on one of them or two of them or a squad of them fighting some galactic menace. It's just, what is it? The Green Lantern Corps was, I'm trying to keep so many different like arcs and titles, but I want to say Vendetti sort of treated it like a four-hander. They were like the squad, right? They were the four corpsmen, right? John's was sort of Hal's the spear point, but these guys are around holding it down, doing their thing. Then you had the couple of Jessica and Simon off doing their own thing, like having their own little discrete adventures. And the mythos shifts focus depending on who's writing it.
Right.
So you're still in the Green Lantern space. I'm not like, there's not going to be a spear through the head of, I'm not blowing up OO on page 1. I'm not depowering the Green Lanterns in issue 1 or issue 2. Like, that is the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm anxious to see where it goes. I think John Stewart's a character, and I've talked about this for a year or more now. And I want to say, Joe, I think we've talked about this too. Like, it's a nice legacy character, lots of history, and it's been kind of aimless for a bit of time. Like they just haven't done much with the character, and I think there's a lot you can do with the character.
Yeah,
I agree.
there are so many DC characters that there's so much you can do with, but they decide to use the same small group of characters over and over again, and you know, it's a little weird. It's like the Spectre deserves a pretty solid run. I think Ostrander and Mandrake did a really great job.
Don't get me started on that. Oh my god. Oh my god. They were the greatest. That was the greatest. And their Martian Manhunter was the greatest. Like, oh my god. I used to call him Austin the Drake. I was like, they're so awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, you're right. And again, it's the strength and the weakness of these massive libraries that I don't know that the newer people have a good understanding of what's available to them. So people, frankly, older people who've been reading, or people who are like weird geeky where they just dive into the mine of it all and start digging. They're like, oh my God, there were 16 different versions of Shazam. This is insane. Why did we never use this guy? You know, wait, Streaky, the super cat can talk? What? Like things like that, right? Any weird little thing can become a giant story, but you have to know it's there to even exploit it. There was a lot of calls to use more alien lanterns. I also feel that way. So you'll see a lot of alien lanterns. They might not necessarily be the alien lanterns you're used to, but remember, there's 7,000 of these freaking guys. So I'm going to be bringing in some new faces. New faces in the sense of whatever Dexter, or if it's someone other than Dexter, decides to draw, that will be a lantern you've never seen before, in addition to the ones you're familiar with. Gnort is Gnort. He's not buffed out like rip your face off Gnort from Future State. Because that has not happened yet.
And that's the question. So I mean, we got. So I'll go to a couple of people. Somebody that's, how did Gnort become a pure savage? Is that a story that's going to get told?
Yes. Okay. So the thing with Future State is it's a bit unwieldy, as you can see, but I think a lot of the negative apprehension, I wouldn't say negative, a lot of the apprehension has, I think, been put to rest. The conversation I'm seeing is, I didn't like this or I did like that. Right? It's not, what the hell? Why would they? It's not like that. It's just, oh, I didn't like this story, or this story was really fun. You know, like that, which I like that. That's what comics are supposed to be. But in terms of Gnort and all of that stuff, Salak is not a street fighting brawler. Like he's the opposite of that. And Gnort is goofy comic relief all this time. So hopefully the question you ask is, dear God, what happened?
Yeah.
Right? These two sweet people are this now? What happened? How long did it take? Good Lord. Something broke Kilowog down to tears? What could it have been? You know, I know what that is. And there are points, hopefully we'll get to show that, or at least, I don't want to spoil anything. It's a future, but the future is always in motion. So I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but the way that it happens may not be what anyone thinks. And so, yes, Gnort is a savage at that point in the story. Based on the events of the intervening period of time, something happened to him to make him that way. And it's not some random like, oh, he was always secretly this. You know, he just never turned it on because he was goofy all the time. No, something kind of tragic actually happened to him to make him that way. Like, there's a giant scar down the middle of Salak's face. That's not an artist sort of just glyphing around. He's described in the text that way.
Right.
Something happened. Like, I've thought, not just me, hopefully a good writer thinks this way, right? They asked me to jump forward in a story that I was telling. So I know where the story is. You guys don't.
Right.
But hopefully, if the sales are enough, you'll get to the point where these things are explained, and also what the outcomes may or may not be. Like, I don't want anyone to think that anything is firm, because that would be silly, right? We don't know what's going to happen over the next year, what concepts are going to take off and which ones aren't. So yeah, there's a lot of intention behind all of these stories, but nobody knew where the hell Harley Quinn came from until she showed up. You know what I mean? Like, until she was big, she wasn't big. So we just don't know.
I am, well, I'm anxious. A lot of people have speculation. Here's Yule's, who's also a retailer, by the way, selling some comics. He's guessing Hairball.
No, but God bless you. Oh my God, Hairball. Oh
there
my
you go.
God.
Really bad one.
Where's my beautiful Kono? Oh my God.
It's there. That's it. Now obviously it was a backup story in the comic, but we got a comic. How about Guy Gardner? Do you know, can you tell us if Guy Gardner's going to show up in your run?
Okay. He definitely makes an appearance, but he is by no means, he's less of the focus even than Hal. Now, I can't.
That's okay. Right. We'll do this again in 2 months.
Yes, let's keep checking in. Sometimes the ground shifts under me, and I don't want to say something that might put some people's fears to rest, and then have editorial change their minds in 3 weeks and do something else, and then everyone comes and yells at me and says I was a liar. Yeah. That happened to me on Ben 10 one time, where I wrote an episode about a character called Charmcaster, who I just really love. And I always thought she got a not bad treatment, but I was like, we're not really delving into what her motivations are. I have sympathy for this person, right? And I wrote her that way. And apparently she had a huge number of fans that also felt that way. They were like, finally, a writer who understands our plight, you know? And they like jumped on me like, is this a sea change? Is this what it's going to be now? And I was like, well, I mean, that's my desire. I would really love for people to see this character this way, because she really isn't just evil, and she has a real point of view, and maybe she's not the bad guy that we thought she was, blah, blah, blah. And then like 3 episodes later, nope, she's straight up evil. Forget all that stuff. Like, I didn't write that. I happened to be watching the show. I was like, oh dear God, she's just straight up evil, right? And all of those people who had been like, oh, you're our champion, are like, you son of a bitch, you fucking liar. And I was like, son, let's all step back from the line real quick. But so I don't like to get out in front like that, because in that case, it was kind of my fault for saying things I ddid not know.
Well, you know, the internet's though very reasonable. I've always found that people understand these things. Nobody's going to hold you to any of it. It's the internet forgets. Like, nobody digs up anything. It's you'll be fine.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a bunch of soft kittens out there. I don't know. Yeah. Just like rolling in kittens every day. So
yeah, and they don't even like Hal Jordan. So.
Nobody likes Hal. Why would anyone like Hal? I don't even know. But it isn't like that, right? And also, like this Vixen thing that just popped up. Like, everyone's talking about Green Lantern. And I'm like, can I get any love for the Vixen thing? Like,
yeah, there's a question about that actually, and it scrolled past.
Okay.
This is where, can you explain? So why 2 parts of Vixen has come out digitally, but it's in the solicitations for March? What is
that's an editorial thing. When we first pitched the thing, it was pitched as a one-shot. So the story was just a simple story that would come out in 30-page one-shot, right? This is what I'm talking about, the ground moving underneath you. While we're making the story, we get a call like, well, we're now going to do this. Is that a problem? I was like, well, I'm only on page 5 or 6 of the script. You're saying you need to break it into 3 10-page sections. So that will change how I script it, because now on every page 10 there has to be some kind of a cliffhanger to make everybody come back next week, which I might not have done it that way if it was just a straight through 30-page book, right? But they're like, yeah, it's going to be digital first. And to answer Nerdette's question, in March, all 3 chapters will be presented to the public who don't get their stuff digitally as a single solid state, old school floppy comic. So you'll just get all 3 chapters in one go. And I think since the page count's a little weird on what they said it was going to be, there may be a 10-page backup story, but I don't know. So that's what that's going to be.
Well, hopefully she's still here. I waited a long time putting this out there, but yeah, that clears a lot of up. I'm noticing DC, and you saw it really in April, they're doing more where the digital stuff is getting another life, and it's showing up. And,
well, I saw that Constantine thing, which I didn't know was coming. I only knew that the Superman was going to be the next Truth and Justice arc, but what's fun is, again, for folks like us, it's just DC Showcase, right? It's just
Right.
here's some little stories about characters you normally don't think about, and here are some artists and writers that might want to flex on it. And in my personal universe, I shouldn't be writing this. It should be some brand new artist and writer team that no one's ever heard of either of them. That's where you should be testing out the new talent in something like that, making your new stars via Truth and Justice. But hey, Chris wanted to do the book, and the editors wanted to do the book. Like, oh, okay. So I wasn't a giant. I liked Vixen, and I had an interesting idea for her apparently. But I now love Vixen. Like working on it with these guys, I'm like getting to write this story. I'm like, could we have an ongoing, please? Like, and they're like, we'll watch the sales, young man. Let's just see how well it sells, you know. And I'm like, can we have an ongoing with Vixen and the Global Guardians, please, sir? You know, and they're like, you asked that before. Please go away now. So, but yeah, I want people to buy it, and I think Truth and Justice is going to be a fun anthology series, and they're all going to be released that way. So you get these weekly pops at a very low price. I think it's 84 cents or something.
Yeah,
if
that's
you're
not bad.
Right. And then if you really have to own it physically, you get the whole thing printed. Chris was a little bit put out by the way that the interface works on Comixology, because it doesn't work the way normal comics and Comixology work. And I was like, why is this happening? Why didn't they just, because he didn't draw it that way. He drew it like a normal comic book. And I can see how the artist would be like, what the hell? You know,
there's a lot of problems there. I mean, to just be honest, I think that's one of the reasons why digital has struggled is Comixology has issues, I think.
Yeah. I worked for a company called Thrillbent on an indie book. And they came up with a interface that was perfect, like straight up perfect. But we all knew going in, even the comic that we had sort of transposed from regular comics to their site, we knew this is how the interface works. So we had to break up. We were the creative team had to go back and, all right, how do we break up the imagery so it fits this paradigm? But going forward, we knew what it was. So we would have written to it rather than sort of having to chop and fit. And I wish more people had seen the throw. I mean, it's still up. You can go look at it. But that to me is the best model so far.
Yeah,
I think it's better. Yeah.
And as someone who's worked with Comixology originals, I just want to say right now that my opinions are my own, and I am not representing Comixology in any way on this panel.
Hey, I get all my comics through Comixology.
It's a good. I think it's there. It serves a purpose. I just I'd like to see them poke and push the innovation, but Amazon has much bigger fish to fry right now. And
Facts.
I'm curious. I'm curious. So we're getting a lot of comments in the chat saying, to Joe here, City of Bruce.
Yes, it's a great idea. For those who don't know, Perch and I did a bad pitches video the other week, and I pitched City of Bruce, where we play up Playboy Bruce Wayne, and it turns out most of Gotham is Bruce's kids at this point.
Oh my God, that's horrifying. That's gold. I love crap like that. Oh my God, that's funny.
We've done so three of these now. They're some of the most fun I have. I mean, they're very sarcastic. I keep waiting for somebody's feelings to get hurt, but it's the premise. Joe and I just try and figure out the most awkward, worst pitch we can think of. And,
No, I love that crap. I came up with one. I think it was just called Black Man, and he was literally every stereotypical black superhero, but rolled into one guy, and he could never actually fight anyone because he was constantly screaming out weird battle cries and reaching for things in his pockets, and the various different kinds of electrical powers he had were always in conflict with each other, and it was just stupid. But why not, man? It's funny.
There's so much. I mean, so before you joined, we were talking. We did the one for the Punisher this week because for some reason we're not sure why the Punisher's in the news right now.
God, with people.
Yeah, a viral marketing campaign. It's gold.
Yeah, so clearly the time is now for Punisher books.
Look, oh my God. Again, I'm old, right? I'm 50. I'm about to be 51. The Punisher's a bad guy, folks. So if bad guys want to wear the bad guy emblem, let them. Leave them alone. He's the bad guy. He's a Spider-Man villain. Okay, he was created to be the bad guy.
It's weird. I can't quite wrap my head around the whole controversy as well. I mean, people wear all kinds of things. It's just a dumb one. And I mean, fundamentally, this character, I think there's a lot of stories. I'm a big fan of the Punisher Return to Big Nothing and so what Mike Zeck used to do with the character and great stuff. But he is a vigilante bad guy.
Right. He murders people. The whole point is he crosses the line. Therefore, he's not a superhero. You can look at it if you don't know movies. What if Batman didn't have that rule?
Sure.
That's the Punisher. Or what if Death Wish took place in a superhero universe? That's also the Punisher, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can call him an anti-hero at best, but the idea that it's not like they're running around with Superman's emblem.
Not yet. Yeah, no.
Not yet. But you know what I'm saying. Like,
I do. I find the dialogue though strange because it is Joe and you made this point. You have, it's Marvel's like, this character may be problematic. We don't want to showcase people who murder people, but it's like you just gave Apocalypse a family, right? Killing villages of people. Like what?
I know. Wait a minute. Yeah, like you don't get to get tense about this. Magneto is a butcher. Like, I still don't know how they walk Magneto back. I hate Magneto. Remember that got me in trouble with Green Lantern. I truly, truly hate Magneto. I cannot write Magneto because I despise him.
Yeah, we just got our new article.
I was built to despise him. The comic books told me to despise him. He's a racist, megalomaniacal mass murderer. Like, he was designed to be the bad guy. Apocalypse is the same way. He's like Magneto on steroids, right? Yeah. And yet they've walked both of them back. Yeah. So you can't get mad at the Punisher. You can't. You have no high horse to stand on, right? You have nothing to say. You can't say anything.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I get excited. I need to stop it.
I'm with you. No, so I mean, as we get more questions, definitely do a Batman style Green Lantern series. Yeah, there's right there.
Okay, I'll put a pin in that. Yeah. I'll put a pin in that.
If sales start to dip a little bit, just Batman it. That's
Bat Lantern. Yeah. There's a whole planet. Wait, we can mix the concepts. There's a planet where they're all Bruce Wayne's children.
Perfect. I love it.
It's Mogo. It's Mogo, and they're all also Green Lanterns.
You remember now? This is I may be showing my age. You remember like what those comics, right? Where Fred Himbeck would do stuff.
Oh yeah, those were gold. Yeah.
That's where a lot of these ideas belong. We need to.
What was it? Plop. Remember Plop?
Yes, magazine? Exactly.
Oh my God! Marvel's was not Brand X. I think.
Yes.
Right. Someone's calling me, and
I'm telling you, Joe, we gotta do this. We get this comic going. But
it's funny. It's just funny. Like, I want to say it's Jay Farber did a thing called Dynamo 5, where the heroes it was an indie book, so it wasn't any of the big two characters, but literally it was a super team composed of all the illegitimate offspring of that universe's Superman, and each one of them got one of his superpowers.
Yeah,
and they were all different ethnicities and different ages, and it was like, what the hell?
I think we all got along better when comics had the occasional thing that made fun of itself, and
Oh God, please, could it not be so serious every minute of every day?
Oh yeah, no, it's everything is deadly serious. Everything's the best comic you're ever going to read, and if you don't love it, you're the worst person on earth, or this is the worst comic, and everyone needs to agree with me because I'm just red in the face and yelling until everyone agrees with me.
What is that? Like me not liking something. We'll rephrase that. I was trying to explain this because by my wife, I refer to my wife as a civilian, and she's like, "What is happening?" And I'm like, "You don't even want to hear this. I'll get 5 minutes into this explanation, and you'll divorce me." So I can't tell. But basically, it comes down to people think it's a zero-sum game. If I like something you don't like, I'm taking something away from you. If I don't like something you do like, I'm taking something away from you. Yeah. So I don't think either of those two things influence one another. I don't like strawberry ice cream. I will never eat any more strawberry ice cream in my life. Lots of people love strawberry ice cream. I don't think they care that I don't like it too.
Yeah, no, it's always weird, and the stuff you still exists.
Right.
Like if I don't like something going on in like Batman, for example, that doesn't mean that Steve Englehart, Marshall Rogers stuff has been zapped from existence.
Right, and isn't that gorgeous? What was her name? Silver St. Cloud?
Cloud,
Yeah.
Where's she been? Is she dead?
Kevin Smith killed her in
Oh,
Widening Ire, but then that was pre-New 52, and he never finished it.
Oh my god!
And now it's just I don't know where she is now.
Like there's some great comics back there. Like,
Oh yeah.
You can never read all of them. I'm glad I got to read them as they were coming out because I don't think you could go back and read them all at this point.
No, because they're hard to find, and Perch and I have talked about this on multiple occasions, but people don't realize how little is actually collected and easily accessible.
So I understand. I will say this: the controversy about Green Lantern caused me to dip into a realm in YouTube and in the sort of fandom that I was not really aware of prior, and that is a common theme in a lot of the discussions. Like, oh, you're referring to something that I've never heard of about a character I really like. And then I went to look for it, and it's impossible to find, or it costs $100,000 to get one copy of it, or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's another point where the people are missing, especially with digital. Like, you can just put them up now. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, even with digital, though, if you don't have the collection so people can easily figure out where to go and find the story,
right?
They're not going to just randomly buy, issue like 340 of Captain America. You need to have that collection. And Perch, right before we started, I was talking about that the Captain trade paperback, which is all the John Walker stuff and him becoming Captain.
Oh my God! Holy crap!
That's been out of print for years.
Oh Lord, those are great. And you know what? I have a feeling, based on what we're seeing with the pre stuff for Falcon and Winter Soldier, that part of the mythology is going to figure in.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Right?
It is. We know that run is heavily influencing this.
Yeah.
I think, and not to beat up on a publisher, want to keep everybody all good, but what in the hell is going on with your planning where you've got this Disney Plus show, you're coming out, you've got that, you've also got some stuff with Byrne Zemo, you've got Batroc the Leapers in there, but so many of these comics are out of print. Don't you think now would be about that time to get that stuff back out into the market? Like,
I don't know. I mean, we talked about this before. They may have, I don't know that this is true, but they may have bit down on the idea that there's no crossover, that there's such small crossover between the MCU and comic book fans that we'll all go to the movies, but they won't all come and read the comics. Yeah. So maybe they just don't care. Maybe they don't feel there's enough money in it to take the time out to do that. I don't know. It just seems, again, we've talked about this. It seems like there's money being left on the table.
Yeah.
Like, why have them just sit when you could have them make money for you? It's pretty straightforward.
I agree, and I'm saying this as someone who loves DC. I've spent an embarrassing amount of money on DC comics and collectibles and trades over the years. I can't believe that we somehow managed to get a Doom Patrol live action show, and yet every season that was coming out as it was coming out, they managed to not have a Doom Patrol ongoing going on. It stopped before the show. It came back in between seasons 1 and 2, and then wasn't going during season 2.
Yes.
I mean,
why?
Coordinate, guys. Come on. This is not rocket science. God damn.
It's so frustrating. It's because it is. It's money. It's money on the table. And what's interesting is there. I do believe there's that belief that there's no crossover, and yet you see one of the things with manga and how Viz is coordinating very tightly at this point with Funimation and some of these. I mean, you definitely see people cross back and forth. I definitely saw in the shop when Captain Marvel movie was announced, people showed up wanting Captain Marvel comics. Not hundreds, but some did.
Did Marvel? I mean, full disclosure, not a big fan of Captain Marvel.
Sure.
I like the movie more than I like the comics.
Sure.
But did Marvel have sort of what's the word? Connected material to go along with the advent of this new movie?
No, they really didn't. they put out a comic, like this little 5-issue series, wanting to kind of retcon some of her past and everything else, which if you really squinted and crossed your eyes might sort of kind of remake the movie. But then it shipped early. Like it was out before, and then the trade didn't come out in time for the film. It feels like a basic business intern could go into these companies and say, hey, we're going to coordinate some things and double your cash.
Look, I feel like also just as much as regular corporations don't understand how movies and TV are made, so when they buy them, there's always a hiccup because it's like, guys, that's not how our business works. You can't do that, whatever it is. I feel the same way about comics and the distribution of comics and like this sort of weird, like, well, there's not a lot of communication a lot of the time. For instance, whatever you feel about the Snyderverse, I am anti. The animated direct to streaming DC stuff, they have their own DC extended universe there with them, Batman slightly darker with Damian and all those guys, and their Superman was not the sort of traditional Superman. It was closer to the Snyderverse Superman, and yet somehow it felt more like you could go back and forth between the comics and the animated extended DCU than you could jump from regular Superman to Man of Steel Superman, right? Yeah. And I don't know that the people are necessarily talking to each other, but I do feel that the people in the animation side were way more in tune with what the comics were. So if they had released a line of comics that coincided with that darker universe that they were presenting, I have a feeling those comics would have sold.
I do.
Because that audience is primed, like what you're saying about manga. Manga and anime are inextricably linked. So let's lean into that model. If you're already spending money on these things, it's not that much more to do some comics that, like, they tied in. What was that beautiful one about the alternate versions of the Trinity, right? It was not Big Barda, but a new Genesis god was Wonder Woman. Batman was really what's his name, Man-Bat guy, and Zod was Superman. I forget what it was called, but they did put out comics to coincide with that. But I think that's because DeMatteis is also an animation writer and also wrote that movie. Yeah. So he could be the writer of those comics too, and actually there's good symmetry there. So I don't know. I just don't think they think about it.
You hate to see it. I'm with you. I don't think they think about it. And there's a missing role. I think there's there's a missing person who they're letting things fall through the cracks. And it's like Joe said, you get Doom Patrol out, you spend a bunch of money on it, you manage to not have a comic running while the show's going on.
Especially the show is actually good and fairly faithful to the version of Doom Patrol that they're portraying. Yeah. Like, release some new stuff, man. Let's go.
Yeah, and they're also leaving money on the table by not doing another idea I have, which is a Danny the Street pop-up book.
What? I would buy that book. I would buy that book.
I was on the phone with Richard Case, and I told him that, and I was like, "Dude, talk to somebody. You just do like the illustrations or layouts. Do it. It would." And he's like, "I love the idea. I don't know, how to get that going." But like every 30-something stoner that likes Doom Patrol would buy it.
Yes, and I feel like again, there's this. It's weird. It's like a chimera, right? It's not really an organic conglomerate of companies. It's like this company did X, it has enough money to buy this other company that doesn't do anything like that, but now I'm the parent company and I own everything. So like AT&T is a communications company, but not a publishing communications, not a movie communications, infrastructure communications. They make phones and computers and routers and stuff like that. They don't have it. They don't know what's in the router. They don't know what we were saying on the phone. They don't care about that. So how are they going to have a really solid opinion, good or bad, about the product? They're not looking at it like that. And there's just not a lot of communication and not a lot of synergy between things that ought to be at least a little bit more synced up, because we're all saying the same phrase that we know because we're the audience. Yeah. There's money here.
Yeah. Do you think, I don't know, this is speculation time for both of you, but do you think that there's a sense of kind of almost defeatism a little bit of, well, we'll never be listened to, and it's never been able to be submerged successfully. So we're so busy, we're overloaded, we're not going to really try. Do you think? Because I've worked with both AT&T and Disney in other parts of my life, and if there's one thing that gets people hot and bothered, it's synergy. They
don't want to hear about it.
No, they absolutely do. But you got to bring a real proposal to them. You got to bring data. And I'm trying to think like who in the current space would even take the time or maybe even would know to go do that. Like,
well, here's what I would say to that. Right now, you're listening to three people who are essentially entrepreneurs, right? People in the audience. Perch is an entrepreneur, Joe's an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. We take a risk. I'm going to put myself out there in order to make money. Maybe I make money. Or maybe people hate it and I take a bath, right? That's the nature of our game. And in a weird way, we all sign up for that. We know what the rules are. So there's no crying in baseball if we fail. You don't get to whine about it if it doesn't work. But the rules are flipped entirely in entertainment. Everything we're saying, I'm sure many people have thought of, but nobody wants to be the person to stick their neck out and go, this is how I think we should do it. Because if they're wrong, that's the end of them. They will not work again, ever, anywhere. The word will be out, oh, this crazy person stuck their neck out and they were stupid and wrong about this one thing we took a risk on and it cost us money. So they are so risk averse that I don't know that it's defeatist as it is the nature of the social nature of that sort of world is protect your back before you do anything risky. So you almost never do anything risky.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes sense. It's painful.
I don't even know if it's risky. Like, I just think there's money there.
No, there absolutely is. And there's so many things. I mean, all of us could rattle off ideas that don't even sound remotely risky and could only make money in some of these instances, like having a Doom Patrol book come out along with the show.
Right.
You know, but it's so weird how
Get Joe Hill to write you a Doom Patrol book that goes one adventure using the characters from the show as they are in the show. Yeah. I bet he'd do it.
Yeah. I mean, and DC loves him because they gave him so many books. You know, I can't see why not.
I'm just saying, just a name that just popped in my head. But
of course, yeah.
I mean, they look at the stuff that we say. We're creatives. Like we're the goofy people they have to put up with. So, like, if they could come up with a way to have a machine do what we do, we'd be out on our ass.
But you know, like another thing, recently, not recently, but you know, the past few years or so, you know, both companies, you know, have been doing a lot of things in terms of, you know, creating new, different kinds of characters of different backgrounds. You know, particularly a lot of different kinds of queer characters.
Sure.
Now they have older queer characters that were created by queer people. I've used this example before. It's because I know her personally, but you know, Rachel Pollack created Kate Godwin Coagula almost 30 years ago now.
Right.
And she's the character's never been used since I think it was John Atreus or Crudy's run. She was killed off panel. And
my God.
And they never brought her back. Issue 9 of his run.
Oh my God.
And you know, it's like you had an openly trans character 20 years before people were even seriously talking about the importance of that in comics.
Right.
And I mean, Rachel's around. She's written over 40 novels. She's an award-winning novelist. She wrote comics. You know, it's like you could tap her to do a one-shot or a digital first, reintroducing their first trans character to a brand new audience. And it's like why are you're creating all these other things? It's like you already have these characters. Why aren't you parading around the fact that like before it was important to people, you were hiring, there were 3 trans women writing comics in the 90s at DC.
But that's Karen Berger's regime, right? Yeah. Like she was a maniac. She did a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Absolutely. I mean, stuff we love, but crazy. Yes. I think Perch and I, again, in the first interview, talked about this as well. And then he went and did the thing with his daughter about Primer. Sure. These spaces can be entered into. There's money to be gotten there. And there's talent to to generate those things. So I don't know so much that it's about creating or not creating new things or even hiding old things. It's that you need to target the space.
Yeah.
Right. So Primer works great because the woman who wrote it understood her audience, her target audience, and the company that commissioned it said, yeah, make up something new. Don't worry about all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's a strong contingent. This is my guess. Please, everybody, I am not an executive. I am never in these boardrooms. This is just,
all guesses, all off the record.
Right? It's not that it's off the record. It's that I don't have any firsthand knowledge of these conversations, but they're relatively educated guesses that there must be a contingent within the infrastructure that says we have all these properties that are established: Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Flash, blah blah blah, right? Why are we wasting money on this Primer thing when we can just do a kid version of this thing that we already own the registered trademark to, and we can make toys of, and we already have the designs, and it's all set, and it's easy and streamlined. The kids won't know, except the kids fucking know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So they will, and Perch pointed this out in one of the things I wasn't on, they will walk past a regular DC YA whatever to grab Primer, which is also a DC book. So you have to ask yourself, why did they walk past Batgirl? Why did they walk past Lobo?
Right.
Right. Yeah. To get this brand new person that most of us are like, oh, cute, but not for me. It's not pointed at me. Right. Why did the kids walk past this thing that we specifically pointed at them? Yep. Because they see it. They know what it is. They want something for them. So give it to them. Just give it to them.
No, I agree with that. I mean, just growing up, I grew up watching the Batman the Animated Series, the X-Men cartoon from the 90s, where I was reading the comics.
Right.
They would like with Batman, they had those like Batman Adventure comics.
Oh my God, I love those.
Yeah, and stuff like that. But when you're a kid, like I was in like elementary school when this was going on. I'd see that kind of stuff, based on the cartoon, and I would still be like, I like the cartoon, but I want like the real Batman comic that the adults are getting or that the teenagers are getting.
Right.
Like kids, I think just kind of gravitate to that. They know like this is I want the real thing. I don't want, the thing trying to tell me is the real thing.
That's right. They feel, and we as comic book fans, we have our version of that, which is every time a freaking movie studio decided they were going to do something that might appeal to comic book people, they'd put out a crappy comic book featuring their new movie that was about to come out. Oh, these idiots will buy that. And 100% of us were like, oh, this is another one of those crappy books. I'm not even going to pick it up.
Yeah.
Right. Because they knew that we knew that what they were doing. They were cynically trying to flex us at something. And we're not doing that. Like, make me a good comic book or sit down, And I think the kids are having written for kids, they're way more vicious than any of us will ever be. They're Perch, if your daughter doesn't like something, is she quiet about it?
Yeah. No, exactly.
She will not do it.
They let me know very quickly. It's funny. There's and again, there's a lot of great comments. Thank you, everybody, by the way, who's joined us, listened to us chat around. It's I'm just enjoying. So I want to be in the chat, listening to Joe and Jeff talk is for me. It is. There was something that came up earlier today, and it was brought up in the chat way back, so far back that I can no longer grab it to bring the comment. But it fits what we're talking about, and it's this idea of don't tell us that a character is super awesome and cool.
Oh my God. Yeah, I saw that.
Show it to him,
Yeah, I think it's hard to talk about. Okay. I feel like I come off as a reasonably nice guy, but the area that I'm not nice about is writing. So I have to be careful about how I word things because it'll seem like I'm coming for the writer, which I'm not doing. But this is a visual medium. It's very clear in movies and TV that it's visual, right?
Right.
But comics are a beautiful, unique medium in that it's a juxtaposition of words and pictures. It's not just words over pictures. It's not words with pictures. It's a juxtaposition of text and image, which is unique to this form. And if I have to say out loud that Bruce Wayne is the world's greatest detective, it's a fail.
Right.
right? Everyone around them should be, first thing should be, oh, we can't solve this. Well, who do we know? We got to call Batman. Oh, that guy, he's such a dick. I know, but we're not going to solve this without him.
Right. And he's bothering children all over the place. And
right. Yeah. He's got that guy with that city of illegitimate offspring. Yeah. But
right. We need his favorite Woody Allen movie is Crimes and Misdemeanors.
Oh my God. Right. But then when he gets there, right, when this guy that we don't want but we have to have gets there, he's a dick. Right? He's a total overbearing, get out of my way, shut up, don't make me punch you in the neck type of guy. Everyone dislikes him, but what does he do? He solves it.
Right.
And then he leaves, and you're like, wow, that guy don't even finish the sentence. He solved the case. We caught the bad guy. All of those nuns are back where they should be, and none of them are dead. That's why we called him in. No one takes him aside and goes, Bruce, can you stop with the illegitimate kids? Because you're the world's greatest detective. Like, nobody... You don't need to do that. You just show it.
I think there's so much of a backlash, and I feel like there's a disconnect. I've recorded this. I don't know if it went up or didn't go up. I'm completely lost track of what 5,000th video I've published this week. But it feels like there becomes, if you have to tell the reader, if you're in the comic going, well, it happened in Justice League, which I did enjoy. I thought that comic was good. But
wait, the new one, the Future State Justice League?
I did enjoy it.
Yeah, me too.
But I did notice, like, I wanted them to say less about how awesome Joe was. She's the detective of the multiverse, the very best detective there is. And she's she's doing it. She's taking care of it. You don't need to tell me this.
Yeah.
As soon as people start telling you that in the text, I think there's this natural reaction where people want to believe the opposite.
People go, is she though?
Yeah.
Like, I could think of 3 other people right now that,
But jump back to what you were saying, Jeff, before with Saving the Nuns. Could we use this maybe to relaunch Bloody Mary and the Helix imprint?
Holy crap. Holy crap. Helix. Now you're trying to kill me. Oh, my God. These kids don't know nothing about no Helix. Why are you bringing up Helix? Oh, my God. Yes, and yes. Why not? But it doesn't even have to be something like that, right? It's just... You want the audience to be, they want to be engaged and we want to be engaged. We want them to be engaged. And the way to engage them is they come out of the book going, gee, they just use the hyperclan, right? Yep. I love the hyperclan. I was like, this is a great set of villains. Holy crap. But I did that organically because in the comic, they were a great set of villains and holy crap, right? And all of my friends were like, did you see the hyperclan? Did you see the freaking hyperclan? Yeah. But no one in the story went, these are the worst, the most dangerous foe we've ever faced. How will we defeat them? Oh, dear God. Although I will say in that same story, the one time that someone did call it out, they did it in a good dramatic way, which is this, and you'll remember this, old guys. They've got Superman. He's held down by the trick that he's under kryptonite influence. And they're like, who's left? We got all your Bat. It's like, oh, you guys didn't get Batman. We're like, we blew up his plane. It's like, did you see a body? No, you didn't see Batman. You didn't get Batman. And they're like, so what? He's just a dude. Like all of the powerful ones. And Superman says out loud, he's the most dangerous human being on earth. You guys are cooked.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. That is fine because he's about to show you.
Yeah,
it's based on his rep that he's built up for 40 odd years. And then he takes these people apart in the next 2 pages. And you're like, holy crap. No wonder he's on the Justice League.
Like, and you also had like 50 issues before that, kind of also showing why Bruce is a badass. So but showing, not telling. Somebody brought up, and they're right, that, hey, what about Wolverine? They've been telling us that Wolverine is...
Oh, dear God.
It's true.
It's true.
But keep this in mind. It wasn't the other characers saying this. This is always... is Wolverine's head.
He's in his own head. He's so arrogant.
He is psyching himself. He is Stuart Smalley this whole time. Like, I'm the best there is at what I do. I'm going to nail this. I'm going to get it all done. It's all me.
How many real names and origin stories has Wolverine had at this point? But don't worry, it's okay because Marvel never had to do a Crisis reboot They're too good for that.
Oh, dude, oh no, please stop it. You need to stop it. Oh my God. Oh my God. No.
Great.
Oh, by the way, I now can't get Al Franken's Wolverine out of my head. So
Yes.
thank you for
I guarantee you now, every time you go back, read those old Chris Claremont stories, the little dialogue box there, I'm the best there is at what I do. It's gonna feel different now.
and what I do isn't very nice. No,
Right.
you kill
And
people with claws.
And what I do is make pizzas in the brand new comic Weapon Slice.
Oh
Yes.
God. Oh my God.
It's true.
Oh,
Yeah.
why isn't that a new power?
We've written the first half of City of Bruce already just in this chat.
Is that not the villain? He drives around the city. Weapon Slice is the bad guy. He's the Joker of City of Bruce.
It's the next amalgam. It can be done.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, I feel like I don't want to come for writers, especially of books that I really liked. Like I actually really liked the Justice League. I really liked Ram V's Swamp Thing.
Mhm.
There's a couple I didn't read because I don't care. Like the Flash, it's nothing against them one way or the other. It's just not my guy.
Not your character, yeah.
What else? I love the Yara Flor one. And I'm not a Batman guy, but I kind of dug the Dark Detective, and I kind of liked the next Batman. The backup stories were a little more fun in those things to me. I love the Outsiders, and I love the Mr. Miracle one. I love that. I can't wait to see how that goes. But that was in the Superman one. But it's difficult to talk about writing in abstract when your peers are writing something that you're also writing, because then someone out on the internet can go, "Oh, Jeff Thorne said this. He hates Brian Michael Bendis, or he's down." I'm like, I'm not. It's just I have my own set of rules for writing. Other writers have their own set of rules. We all work with the rules that we've got.
And even if they're great writers, you can still hate them.
Sure, and they can make mistakes. That's another thing. Stop it. You can't hate them. They're just people. Don't hate anybody.
No, of course.
But there's no. I don't think there's a single writer out there that has not produced a clunky comic at some point.
Of course,
it happens.
Right.
You know,
look, you got to churn these. Even right now, by the way, folks, I'm bumping up against deadlines, like suddenly retracted deadlines, and we haven't even put out issue 1 yet.
And you're on a chat with us.
Yeah.
And we are. It is a lot of people can't handle the schedule. I may be one of them. We will find out. Like it's a tough gig, man. It's a tough gig, and I'm not even drawing it. God forbid. I'm making a joke about it, but that was a cast of what, hundreds of thousands in those feature state books. Tom had never seen. Like I made up the blue guys. Like they look like this. There's 10 million of them in this city that's being destroyed. Right? Go draw that. Go draw that pencil monkey. Go.
The amount of time it takes to make a monthly comic, it's a miracle monthly comics exist.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it is.
Right. So that's why you have to be months ahead. But even with that, it's barely a pad, because if anything goes wrong and something always goes wrong, like things unforeseen always go wrong, every issue, every book, every company. Then there's delays, or you need to fill in, or this didn't work right. And, that one of the artists or the writer or both are at odds with each other about something.
But they used to do inventory stories, but they don't really do that anymore, where you just like random stories, and like people now who don't know that, who pick up these old collections, have got to be like, what the hell's this?
What is this thing? Where'd the storyline I was into? Well, clearly they didn't meet their deadlines, and this is
those are now applied to anniversary issues.
We talked about that though. We talked about a little bit on the last time I talked to Perch, which is Shooter was that guy. Stan Lee was that guy. Ramita Senior was that guy. When they were running things, they had trunk stories just in case, because they'd come up in the industry in a way that didn't have stars in it.
Yeah.
There were no stars when they all came up. So like, oh, of course we would have this. Now we have stars. So they can, I'm not saying that any of them did this, but Joe Mad can be like, well, look, I'm Joe Mad. So it's going to take the time it's going to take. I know I said a month, but this one page is going to be so awesome, it'll be worth the extra 2 weeks. Oh, Jesus, it's Joe Mad. Like, everyone's going to show up for this book. All right, I guess we'll delay it. We'll put it on a hiatus until he's done. Like, if that was me, I'd find a teenager who draws like Joe Mad.
Yeah.
I think I'm kidding. I'd have 5 of them. Like, you guys copy him perfectly, right? Come do that for me for this one fill-in book.
We have a quick question from Jamie. Did you? How about Jade and Cairo? Do you, any?
I don't know that I have the right to mess around with Jade right now. That's the best way I can say that.
Oh,
and
okay.
Cairo, I don't want to make any promises. A bunch of stuff will happen. Nobody's off the table. I will be grabbing lanterns that I think will fit the story. So I won't promise you that they will be there, but I won't say that they definitely will not appear, because the story's going to be pretty wacky. So it might be fun. And now you've put that name in my head. So now I'm thinking about it in a way that maybe I wouldn't have ever thought of them for this. So
excellent.
But what you don't want to do is keep putting names in my head, because a lot of these people are going to get hurt very badly. So if you love your character, you probably don't want to mention them to me, because if they show up, they might get hurt badly.
All right, everybody keep that in mind. We do have more people wanting the pop-up book and Danny Street pop-up book or a Lego set. Which,
oh my God, how great would that be? That's multiple Lego sets, by the way.
Yeah.
Right?
And
you can update that annually. Every Christmas, a new Danny the Street Lego set.
There you go.
I'm glad my daughters are into Lego pretty heavily, and that is I was like really happy, because they steered away from the American Girl doll things that are like $100. Like, I don't want to blow my money on those. But then it's like, hey, here's a Lego set that's $400. Go. It's broke. Lego is not the way to go. Don't steer.
You know what? I would have more sympathy for you, except nobody told you to breed. Nobody told you to make more humans. So
I'm with you. I get
world's tiniest violin is not.
I was trying to City of Bruce it up over here, and I threw this image. I always throw different things up, but this is just, as people have talked about Spider-Man's engagement with the press. It got kind of spicy at one point. Here's him threatening to rip Jonah's arms off.
Oh dear God!
I mean,
oh my God!
I love that it's Spider-Man's being a little bit more hardcore here. But anyway, and then we talked about this. This other one, I just wanted to say, in a few days, I did do a video that hopefully you guys will like. Sean Gordon Murphy came on to talk a little about social media and kind of his experience with it and stuff, and it's a great one. I love this clip, though, which is, I think this was done digitally for Injustice, as I recall. Yeah, this is the Injustice universe. And I love that when Superman and Batman got into a feud, this was how Superman decided to screw with him. He basically went on Twitter and just put out a secret identity there. And I love this whole, like, the absurdness of this whole scene of, you got the Superman profile picture and you have the Batman as Bruce Wayne. And
that's hysterical.
This was a good way to go. But anyway,
it is.
This is next week. Jeff, I don't know if you've ever seen this with us, but I put up these are the new comics next week, just next week. And this is not all of them by a mile. Does this seem like too many comics to you, or what do you?
Jesus Christ!
Yeah. Hey, this is everybody's reaction, by the way.
Christ.
I did this, I think, with Sean, actually, when we did the stream with him, and I put this up. He's like, "That's a lot of comics next month," and I'm like, "No, next week. This is next week."
I mean, who's buying all those comics? Nobody's buying all those comics. Like,
no
one can afford those comics.
How can you even market that volume of comics? Like, and if you're a shop, like, what do you even do with trying? Like, how are you getting the fan for Knights of the Dinner Table 280 to?
I don't know what to say to this, except what we talked about in the first thing. If I ran a bookstore and it was just a comic bookstore, the prices would have to be way low, because when you buy a novel, what are they, $18, $14 or something like that? But the average novel is between 350 and 500 pages. That's average. Some of them are crazy long, some of them are a little shorter. But that means conservatively, you've got, if you read really fast all the time, maybe 3 days to a week and a half of reading for that amount of money. That's roughly worth it, I suppose. But for what amounts to about a 10-minute read for $6, $5,
it's tough.
Nobody's doing that. If you put $5 next to each one of these names, who's buying these comics?
Yeah, it's I think it becomes an impossible thing to market and put out. And again, as a shop owner, you're basically just hoping your customers are coming in and know what they want, and they more or less will tell you, so you can fit them into a pull box on some level. But this is unmanageable. And running a shop through the 90s, there were a lot of comics then, but not at this volume. And I think a lot of indies get lost here.
Oh, absolutely, they do.
Yeah.
I think the big two. Well, let's see what happens now, right?
Yeah.
When it was the clean direct, the old school direct market, these guys would get killed. All these people would get killed. I'll just put out 16. We said this before. I'll just put out 16 Wolverines this month. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
All you guys can go. Like, I don't know why you showed up, because it's going to be 16 Wolverines this month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this though. I'm like, what the hell's Tales from the Umbrella Academy? I don't think I heard of that. And it's on number 5.
Oh no.
Yeah. No, it's a spinoff of the Umbrella Academy.
Okay.
There are 257 other Looney Tunes issues.
Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing for you, son.
I
don't
like
know what
that
to
they're finally getting that Game of Thrones Clash of Kings number 10 out.
Yeah,
Frankly,
waiting.
it's hot there.
I've been waiting. You know what's going to happen? The Game of Thrones comic will still be out ahead of the end of Game of Thrones, the book. So,
Well, George R. R. Martin, sadly, is, I mean, brilliant guy, but he is eating himself to death right now.
oh, whatever. He's rich. He can do what he wants.
Yeah, no, he can.
But yeah, like I'm not mad at any of these people, but that's a lot of comics, man.
It is.
It's yeah. This is a lot, and this is like after DC cut back a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means. Again, I'm going to defer to our Sherpa here, Mr. Perch, because I don't have the bird's eye or God's eye view of the industry. I don't know what these trends mean. So you could look at it like, look at this sort of surge in indie books, and that's a good thing. But on the other side of it, the market as it was built can't sustain that. There's just not enough of us. And I make a pretty good living where I could theoretically buy maybe half of those books, but I'm not spending that kind of money on a weekly freaking basis. No way.
No.
You know? So who's going to lose? It's going to be the indies for the most part.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it is a good time for the indies, but this is why the indies have to figure out a way to stand out. The role of marketing almost has to be one of the most important roles of the publisher right now, because you've got to find a way to get your stuff noticed, and in that giant crowd, it's impossible. But here's just, so DC, we just saw April, and there again, that I'm convinced that Green Lantern covers and all that can't be there's no logo on there. It's the only one of what they're promoting without the trade dress and everything on there. So
so maybe that they just had to get something out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. All I can tell you is, although it is an interesting part of the story to pull out, it by no means describes that book. That is such a tiny part of what happens in this book, and it isn't even exactly in this tone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful piece. I love it. I wouldn't mind having it on my wall.
Yeah, it's a fun piece. It's my resistance at all. Just like Robin there, that's a good number 1 cover.
Yeah.
Although if you look really closely, and I don't know if you'd be able to see on your screen, I am curious. I was like, there's an arm coming out of a leg at the guy there. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but
I don't know. I like the kind of weirdly almost all black, gray and black version that they're doing.
I like that.
I'm presuming that's Damien.
Yeah.
That's Damien. Yeah, I like that they're separating him out a little bit. It's nice. And then of course Bruce is in Europe. So, but
you won't let that go, will you?
I won't let that go. Because I picture in my head. I was telling this to Joe. I'm picturing Euro Trip. So let's do that. Like, it'll be Batman, maybe Batman, Mr. Terrific, and they're just driving around Europe trying to.
Wow. Batman and Mr. Terrific driving around Europe. I am so watching that movie. Oh my God.
Every one of those covers for The Dark Knight is that same exact cover, but they just swap out Big Ben with the Eiffel Tower, Big Ben with the
Wow. That's funny too. That's actually funny too. I love that. Like, it's Batman around the world. Oh my God. It's a pyramid. It's the Sphinx. It's the Taj Mahal.
But with their luck, they'd accidentally do Tokyo Tower instead of the Eiffel Tower, and it would be a whole thing, and people would be able to the internet.
That's funny. No, I was. Oh my God. No, I was thinking people in wherever the Taj Mahal is like, there's not even a building there. You can't make that. There's no shot. You can't do that. It's just the Taj Mahal in a big empty space. What is he even hanging off of?
That's what we got. National Lampoon's Batman European Vacation. That's what we need.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mr. Terrific spends the entire comic book just watching Bruce and shaking his head like, oh, Christ.
Yeah. I hear former National Lampoon's editor Sherry Flanagan is wanting to do comics again anyway. So
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
yeah,
Man,
do that.
again, the youngsters don't know this, but the National Lampoon did, one of the things I remember from them was they did a Bewitched send up of Bewitched, like what if Samantha and Endora were actual witches, like book witches, drawn, I believe, by Byrne Wrightson. And Gladys Kravitz, the next door Snoopy neighbor, comes in and looks through the window, and they did a spell that made her eyes explode. I was like, what the hell am I looking at?
I love it.
Oh, Lord. The 70s and 80s.
It's still, I won't put you on the spot. I do think this DC launch has been puzzling. I think it will take a couple more months to really kind of figure it out. But
Sure.
Yeah.
we still have some more ongoing titles. They're up to 37 now, so that's good.
37.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what are the rollouts? Right now, it's discrete, right? It's just Future State for these 2 months. So
Right.
every week, it's a new every week of this month, it's a new line. And then every week of next month, it'll be the second part of anything that has a second part.
Right. Yeah. But double ships. I think Batman the next Batman has 4 issues during this 2 months.
Oh, well, he's special.
Yeah, he's special. He gets a little bit more. But.
Yeah, he's very special.
But then we get into March, and there's still some stuff on the shelf. I mean, JSA. I mean, they nobody's saying anything, but they've tipped their hand as much as they could tip it that's coming. So
right.
Then we get the announcement for Wonder Girl. We still don't know what's going on with Aquaman. But I mean, I don't know. I saw these people saying that maybe there won't be an Aquaman book ever again. It's like there's Aquaman 2's coming. What do you think?
Right. There's no such thing as ever again in comics.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
And I think it's important to stress here, just because we're talking about the rollout potentially being confusing, that's not saying the books themselves are bad or anything like that. It's just they're like, we don't really know where this is going. And like for me, I'm a little unsure of where things are going yet, but that seems to be the
Joker who frowns. That's hysterical.
Joker who frowns, yeah. No, you're
That's
right.
just Batman. The Joker who frowns is just Batman.
It's I think that I like this one too. Yeah, let's get Batman in male sauna. That's cool.
Wow.
It is. I think that the funny thing about Future State, and generally this is kind of seems to be the common consensus, that people were believing that this is going to be the worst thing of all worst things, and the comics are coming out, and some people like, some people don't like, but none of it's a terrible disaster. It's just. And that's my reaction too. Some I found very dull. Some I've enjoyed. Nothing has been like, I hate this comic. I told this story before. I had a shop and I had people win the One More Day. The issue of Spider-Man came out, the infamous issue.
Oh,
and that was a day where people threw comics on the floor and tore them up and were very viscerally angry in a shop, which was still alarming. But then nothing even remotely close is happening here. So
yeah.
It puts it all in perspective.
I think they let us. I mean, if my experience is any sort of a guideline, I was sort of, please make us a Future State story. Choose anything from this arc and put it in here. So just make it interesting or exciting or whatever you think it is, that will make people go, what the hell, And if they did that with everybody, then some of these people are fairly talented. Like I haven't thought about. I say fairly, I understate things all the time. Ram V can write his ass off. Yeah, that Swamp Thing. I have not given a damn about Swamp Thing in a decade. I read one issue of his Swamp Thing. I'm like, when is this book coming out?
Yeah.
So I really like I said, I really liked a bunch of the things. I can't wait to see what happens with the Catwoman one. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, what you're getting is 2 months of pretty good comics. Like they're not earth-shaking redesign the industry comics, but they're also not the sky is falling. It's the end of DC. What will we do? Oh my God. It's not that. And I think living in that world of extremes and superlatives, it hurts all of us in that fans expect something and they're sort of braced for it. And then it doesn't happen. And there's sort of the negative adrenaline of, well, it didn't happen. And the writers, the creators, I shouldn't say just the writers, it's like, well, we can't tell you anything, and it isn't that. It isn't what you think it is. Please just trust us. And the response will always be, why should we trust you? You've been lying to us for a decade. Like, but not me specifically. I can't. I don't know what those other guys did, and it's just this mishmash. But really, it's just comics again.
I think we're suffering from what's been 2 decades of, in some cases, some overhype. We're paying the price now of this comic will change the entire universe forever. You will not believe the shocking death that happens in issue 3.
Yes,
we're going to change.
Yeah, and it happens sooner and sooner. Crises happen sooner and sooner. These resets keep happening closer and closer together. And I mean, social media is a huge factor. I don't know what people would have thought of like Chris Claremont's X-Men if every month Claremont was on Twitter being like, this is the best issue of X-Men.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You know what? Think about it like this. Now I have my own problems with the advent of the Hellfire Club. I did at the time. There is a real Hellfire Club, and it is kind of a bondage club, and it's in New York, and all that's real. So if you went to New York and looked up Hellfire Club, it's certainly in that era, you'd find one, and you'd find people dressing and acting sort of like they do in that comic book. And I was like, is this a bit too adult for the audience? This dress code of sort of bustiers and panties and thigh-high boots. And I'm like, interesting choice, But if that was happening now on the internet, those guys would be on their way to prison. Like, what are these 2 old dudes doing? What are they trying to sell to my children?
Oh yeah, there's definitely some stuff that have aged weird. For sure.
I don't feel that I was particularly warped by those comics, but the general audience, the consensus audience that the social media creates, there's no way the X-Men would have survived that. There's no way, right?
I agree with
the Million Mom March or whatever, or Moms Against Corruption or whatever the hell that thing's called, they would have eaten those guys for lunch,
Now, this is, but the weird part of this, though, maybe weird's the wrong word. I mean, I love a lot of the people working in the current X office on the books. I personally know a bunch of people, like Vita, Teeny, Leia, Leah rather, but like it's interesting because there's that whole corner of X Twitter that's basically softcore porn.
Yes, there is that. Yes, there is.
And a lot of the stuff, particularly in like X Factor, with the way they've been dealing with like Dakin or Dakin, however you say his name,
right?
Some of these other characters really feed into that.
Jerry Duggan's a friend of mine. Full disclosure.
Sure.
We work together on Solo. I've known him for a billion years, and I, for the most part, really like what's going on in the X books. The Ten of Swords thing was crazy. Setting aside my massive dislike for Magneto presence and my very fun fake hate of Gambit, I just like making fun of Gambit because he's Gambit.
Cool articles out of this show.
He is Gambit, and he must be mocked at every turn.
I got Mike Norton to draw Peter David as Gambit for me.
Exactly. Well, that's what he really looks like.
Nice.
So, but I feel like there's this weird thing of who are the comics for?
Yeah.
I think that there's not an editorial decision that's been truly made about that. So you get this weird sort of gray space where you're right. Some of it comes off as softcore porn. I personally don't. Perch, what's the rule on swearing?
You can do whatever you want.
I don't need to see Catwoman and Batman fucking on a roof. I don't need to see that. That's not the ticket I bought. I'm not against it. I'm not a prude by by any stretch of the imagination.
Sure.
But who's the comic book for?
I love it, by the way, when you're running a shop and somebody ships something, like let's say you're Mike Miller and you ship your issue of Magic Order and it's got full frontal nudity there, but you don't tell anyone and don't put any label on the cover, and then you put it out on your rack and you get some parent asking you why you're selling
what
that.
The hell is this? Exactly.
Awesome moment. Thank you.
There's no thought about what that is. And again, I'm not saying I mean, what is the phrase they use now? I am a very sex positive person. I don't think sexuality should be omitted from these things. But I'm saying a lot of this stuff is purely for prurient value because it's what the guys like to draw, basically, or the writer has a kink that needs to get worked out in some particular way. I don't know. But
don't surprise your shop with that. So then somebody is threatening to call the city on you.
Right.
Failing kitty porn. That's
Read
great.
the room. Read the room.
Thank you, Batman Damned. I appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's a really subtle, weird thing. It's funny. It's a weird split between the Green Lantern lore and the X-Men lore.
Yeah.
Hal and Arisia's relationship. What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
Like, I mean, they kind of tried to retcon it away when she aged herself up, but I mean, what did you do? You aged your body up, but you're still 16 or 15 or whatever. Like, what the hell? Right. But now that's going way back in the day, whatever. It's buried.
Well, I mean, Supergirl had a horse that she was into for a while.
Oh my God. With that, what was that shit? Holy crap. Was that the 50s or the 60s? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But X-Men has its own thing because Kitty was 13 when she showed up. And Peter, although he was described as being 16, which is still not anybody you want your 13-year-old daughter dating, but he was drawn like freaking Doc Savage.
Sure.
And they were supposed to be a couple. And I was like, guys, did anyone discuss the visual aspect of this? Like you can say over and over again that they're roughly the same age, but that looks like she's a 13-year-old trying to have sex with Arnold Schwarzenegger right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, and that kind of oversight isn't censorship. It's knowing, is this a YA book? Is this a general audience's book? Is it an R-rated book? Right? The Authority is an R-rated book. I'm perfectly fine with The Authority being an R-rated book. I don't need to see Batman and the Midnighter being interchangeable because they're not. They weren't designed to be. Mm-hmm. So that's me. So I feel like when we get into these weird political discussions about comics, I don't know where I'm ever going to land depending on the conversation. Sure. Because some of this stuff, I'm like, no, I consider that a big fat no. You know, and others I'm like, let them go, let them do their thing. You know, so whatever.
Well, as you talk, and I know we're probably winding up fairly soon, but I'm throw again. I don't know if you've seen Sport Jeff, but I throw comics that were sold this week in the past. So this week, this kind of some cool stuff up there. Speaking of Kitty Pryde, there she is.
There's my girl. Yeah. What was that? Is that the legendary Paul Smith?
Yes, that is absolutely Paul Smith. Who doesn't get anywhere near the recognition he deserves.
If I could hire that guy, I would hire him in a shot. He's so amazing. And whatever happened, what is it? Leave it to chance? Where's my movie? Like, God.
There's he, for whatever reason, like, I don't know, maybe Joe, am I crazy? But Paul doesn't come up really ever. Like, they don't. What happened there? Was there something?
I don't think there was any. I don't think there was any weird dealings. I mean, he just seemed to get less and less work, and then didn't get work. He did that. Wasn't there like a Kitty miniseries that he illustrated in like the early 2000s? That was by CB when he was still going under Akira Yoshida.
Oh. No, I can't remember that. But now my brain is frying.
Because I think he had, I think Paul did that, and that's one of the last things I remember Paul doing.
So maybe he makes money in the, that aftermarket selling of original artwork or commission stuff. It's very lucrative for these guys from that time period. So maybe he doesn't need to do comics.
I'm hoping so. His last work that I'm seeing was that Kitty Pryde Shadow and Flame by Akira. So Akira should phone him up. I mean, he did.
You know, that guy, for an immigrant, he did really well for himself.
He did.
Right?
There's actually, if you look it up, I think it's still archived, an interview that Akira Yoshida did about that comic.
Oh, dear God. Why? Why? Why?
What a lot of people I don't think realize is, and to his credit, Art Adams still regularly in tons of interviews, he always credits Paul Smith as kind of his big inspiration, how he got into comics. So
That's
good for him.
nice.
But yeah, anyway,
that is nice.
some nice stuff. Hey, some DC stuff. Broken City. There you have it.
Oh wait, let me look. Oh, there's my Legionnaires.
Yeah.
Really Batman versus Predator. Remember that? Absolutely.
Yeah.
We got the plastic.
Is that? Oh, that was Jim Balant's version of Catwoman, I think, down there.
Yes, I believe that's correct. Yeah.
I don't know how to say it. I think it's Balant.
I mean, I'd like to say I intentionally butcher names, but half the time it's not intentional because I can't pronounce anything. So
Yeah, I don't know how anyone's name sounds.
No, but that Broken City I don't think is as bad as some people make it out. I just hear some people, like, you bring up Brian Azzarello and they like go nuts.
Yeah. He was doing this and Superman at the same time. This was when he was doing Superman with Jim Lee, I think, at the exact same time.
For Tomorrow was happening at the same time as Broken City.
Yeah.
Good God.
Which is also kind of nuts. One writer doing both their flagship characters same time.
And like 100 Bullets, I think, was still going on. Like,
Jesus Christ, 100 Bullets. Wow. I was talk about that, the end of 100 Bullets, the end of Battlestar Galactica, and the end of Game of Thrones are equal in my mind as I would kill everyone involved with it.
Nice.
You dragged me along this journey, and this is the end? Do not let me see you in public. I will kill you in front of your children. I can't believe it.
well, according to Brian Azzarello, once I was talking with him at San Diego. We're at the bar, so I don't know how many either of us have. But he told me there's no such thing as a good comic. You can only do the least bad comic you can do.
I guess that's true. That is true. Well, you know what it is? I was thinking about this because lately I've had to talk about comics in a way I've never had to before. Mm-hmm. But there's a perfect idea in your head. There's a perfect story in your head. When you think of it and you sit up in bed and go, that's it. This is how I can revamp Vixen. She will now be this. And then the instant you start writing it down, it becomes corrupted because it's the real world. And then as soon as other people get involved, then they have their other notions, and the idea stops being just your idea. It stops being whatever was perfect in your mind is gone, absolutely. And it becomes a sort of weird mishmash, and you're just sort of navigating. So I can understand that sentiment. Like, a good example is this Green Lantern thing. It started out as a very simple pitch, which I thought would have been maybe a mini-series that would go between 5 and 10 issues focusing on John Stewart. Now it's the book. Mm-hmm. And that was not what I walked in the door with. So a lot of stuff has been added, a lot of nuance and changes have been made, just all kinds of stuff that the original writer, me, never pictured in a million years. But now it's going to be my name on all of it. Like, I have to make all of that work. Even things that wouldn't naturally come to my mind have to be made to work now. So I wish that wasn't true, but it probably is true. It's the least bad rather than the best. It's definitely not the best. It's definitely not the best. I think you'd be so lucky to do the best. Like, what happens? The comics we all remember as being great, those are the best. Those are the very few times when everything just synced up and everything was perfect. Yeah. Right? So like that era of the X-Men, Claremont, Byrne, the best.
Yeah. And speaking of, there's the Hellfire Club right there.
Look at them. That was such a great run. Good God.
And I think they just revealed that Leland is actually the dad of Shinobi, so that's fun.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. Those guys are like minks over there.
Yeah. I mean, how would you know any of these guys? I mean, it could be DNA's all over that place.
And that's a good more Byrne with that Fantastic Four issue.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, Frankie. Remember Frankie Ray, Johnny Storm's girlfriend? Who becomes Nova because she wants to.
Yes, wanted that power.
She said, he's like, but you know what you're going to have to do? And what was the response? So a few bug-eyed alien monsters get killed. Big fat deal. I'm going out there. And I was like, oh my God. That was your girlfriend, Johnny. That's who you wanted to be with.
What do you say? These guys asking if you could write a Justice League book.
On
the team?
Not necessarily. The thing that I like about, okay, Vixen is a character I sort of have a nice feeling about for many years, but never really had any stories for. Now that we're writing these stories, the place that I see her is with this new version of the Global Guardians that we came up with.
Okay.
Places her in a different setting. I feel like the Justice League, and they sort of addressed this in the future state thing, their membership is too broad. There's too many people that they've stuck on the team. Yeah. I feel like the Justice League should be whoever the big 7 are or big 6 are, basically the most popular characters that we can stick on the Justice League, and everybody else should be in some other group.
I like it.
And if we need those other people, they come in as guest stars in if the Justice League was a TV show, Vixen would be a frequent guest star because she's fun, but she'd never actually be on the team.
You get like they bring in a specialist for
exactly. Like, we're going to deal with this. We need this person because none of us can do this one weird thing that is what this story. And that's where you get John Constantine would come in, Vixen would come in.
You get that.
Dr. Fate shows up.
Yeah. You get that Apache Chief storyline there.
Don't get me started on the Fractal.
Brother Power the Geek,
leave Brother Power alone. But yeah, I don't know that I would automatically stick Vixen on that team. I think the team, whether it's the how do I say this right? The Justice League is Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the Flash, Green Lantern, sometimes Martian Manhunter. That's the Justice League.
Yeah,
to me, and one of the Hawk people.
How about you, Joe? What would you do? Is that line up with you too, or what would be your line?
I think that makes sense, and you can kind of shift things around. I think at this point, people kind of expect the Trinity to be on Justice League and would be annoyed if they weren't. I feel like the Trinity, Green Lantern and Flash are kind of what people expect, and you can kind of have a little bit of fun with like another character. I don't know how much you really need Aquaman on the team or not. He needs to be in some of it, but he doesn't have to be on it like all the time. You could kind of switch out, I think, Aquaman, Hawkman, or Hawkgirl, a couple like Martian Manhunter, and like.
But don't they count as like specialists, right? They're the auxiliary member, right? Like, we need Aquaman because X.
Or Green Arrow for a couple issues. Black Canary. There's characters like that you can kind of swap around, but you keep like that core 3 to 5 pretty solid, and then you kind of rotate.
And the fun thing is, as much as I don't like that this exists, there's like 9,000 Flashes. There's like 1 billion Green Lanterns. So you can keep the sort of silhouette, right? But sometimes you can have fun with it. And they did this a lot in the 80s and 90s, right? Where Hal's out of the box, so it's now Guy. And all the other Justice League members are like, wait, you're not the Green Lantern. He's like, no, I'm the Green Lantern. I am the Green Lantern of Earth. So I'm on the team, right? No, that was Hal. We like Hal. We don't know you. Yeah, well, you're stuck with me because I'm the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
So, and then that gives a fun power shift dynamic, blah, 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 all that. But Vixen, I'm saying this, I'm telling everybody, because the Green Lantern is getting, and I think rightly so, it's just a bigger, more popular concept. It's getting all the heat right now, but I truly fell in love with this Vixen character and this Global Guardians thing and this weird sort of new backstory we've given her and expanded universe we've given her. So I'm hoping the book does really well, because I would love to write that ongoing, right? For those who don't know, what we've done is the Global Guardians was sort of an amorphous UN team that was just there to show there's other super people, basically. But they never really had a specific, like, if you have the Justice League, you don't need anybody else. That's the whole point of having the Justice League. So what their mission now is, their job is to find those things, either objects or people of power, that if allowed to continue whatever they're doing, would become a threat so big you'd have to call in the Justice League, right? So they have to find them before they get that big and stamp it out early. That's their job. So it's kind of like a Mission Impossible team, more so than we're going to fight supervillains team. And the people on it, we've revamped some of them already. You're going to see we've already seen Impala, a new Impala, is not the one that's ever been shown before. And we're going to see another one of the Global Guardians show up in Chapter 3, who you've not seen before either. But using a power, you'll find that character familiar, just not in the way that that character has been depicted previously exactly. And the idea is to sort of expand that universe. But I would kill to write that the Vixen and the Global Guardians book now. Like, I never thought I would say that sentence out loud in my life.
Yeah, let's get that going. We need you for City of Bruce, but then after that,
well, commitments. You got to get your priorities in order.
Yeah.
Who's drawing this? Who's drawing this magnum opus?
How about here's
Why not?
here we got Tara joins the Titans. That ended well.
Hey, another cool concept. How long did they play that out where we thought she was just a rough kid who had not had the breaks, and then she joins the team and Gar's in love with her and it's all going great, and then nope.
Yeah.
Sorry about it. What was that, a year and a half they played that out?
Wow, yeah. It's such a good run.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was definitely better than this Justice League over here where they're fighting
who are those guys?
Or whatever's going on there. That's
Who are those guys?
What issue of Batman is that?
This is, let's see, this is 358. So
okay, so that's when Doug Menck was writing it. Yeah, I love that era, like that pre-crisis, the late 70s, early 80s Batman is some of the best Batman I've ever read.
Sure.
It's so weird to me. I'm a broken record with this stuff, but like DC comes off often like ashamed of their pre-crisis stuff, and some of the pre-crisis stuff is some of the best stuff they will ever do.
I agree. I think you're preaching to the choir here, brother.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, everybody. Anyway, it's fun to look back at this stuff. It's not all just nostalgia, babe. It's fun to remember some of this stuff. I like, and I do like how Marvel had this moment where they're pretty edgy. They like to put the text on the cover. We got, "It is dark and it is lonely, and they are freezing to death."
Yeah.
Gone down here.
Well,
It'd probably be helpful if you were wearing more clothing.
Yeah,
The space that you're in, you idiots.
Maybe the loose kind of pirate shirt there and the chains isn't your best thing.
And the open to the navel, skin tight leotard. What were you thinking? You don't even have socks on, you idiot.
That's right.
We're all in on Dazzler.
Is that Dazzler or another Dazzler?
No, this is Dazzler. This was during that period where Jim Shooter, who did have a lot of amazing ideas, he was Dazzler was in everything for a while. The sensational Dazzler.
I have friends who now in my peer group who Dazzler's the only character they remember, and I'm like, really? Alison Blair the Dazzler is the only person you remember from this era of comics? I mean, Disco Dazzler, no. And I'm like, please don't say that again. Please don't say this.
People, there's a weird thing with Disco Dazzler. Every few years, someone has to do Dazzler in the disco outfit again.
Oh, God help me.
It's just I don't get it. I mean, I enjoy the character for like ironic reasons, and because I once played the arcade game at this arcade where Dazzler was the only one that worked, and I beat the game with Dazzler.
Wow. You must have been proud of yourself.
I was very proud of myself.
Oh my God.
Despite the fact that I was an ex-chicken, I didn't let Magneto kill you, welcome to die, etc.
Oh, God help me.
Pyro will burn you to toast.
At least Jubilee has taken Dazzler's place, right?
I suppose. What is power? He makes fireworks?
Well, Jubilee's the former vampire with a dragon son.
Don't get me started. Please don't get me started. Like, this is what happens when you let one guy make up anything he wants for 30 years. Like, Jesus Christ, Chris.
I don't know. Well, I mean, and then people double down. I mean, that you can't lay that vampire stuff on him.
That's not his fault. That's
a whole other nightmare.
That was post Claremont.
But he did have them fight Dracula first.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, really? Why are we here? Why are we over here? How did this happen?
He didn't bless Iceman so he'd have holy water ice to murder vampires with. That's not Claremont.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Something you were saying earlier. I mean, Claremont, if social media existed back during Claremont's run, and Claremont was on every week, like retweeting people saying that the comic was great, and chef's kiss, best issue ever. When he what would have canceled him? Because I think there were several moments. Would it have been Peter? Would it have been that Kitty's throwing out the N-word? And I mean,
that would have done it for sure.
Yeah,
that would have done it for sure. And then he did it again.
He went back to it. Yeah.
That would have done it, but I think you might have lost him too. He definitely would have become controversial earlier than that with a couple of things we already talked about just now. But that stuff would have not have gone over with the internet very big.
Inferno would have been a problem. I think it crossed over into everything. Everyone would have been like, why is Inferno in my Spider-Man? What's going on?
I don't know if it's controversial, but I remember being a little pissed off that they sort of quickly made Ileana grow up to being a teenager.
Yeah.
And then invariably kept drawing her in almost no clothing. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
Wasn't she just 7 like 5 seconds ago? Nobody has a problem with this.
Yeah. now she wears pasties. It's all fine.
Yeah. Now all she wears is pasties and thigh highs. And again, not played as a grown-up woman who's made an educated choice about her own sexuality. Oh no, she's 15. This is just how she rolls. And I was like, what?
There's a lot. I often think if I had more time and didn't care, I'd love to like just because I don't think people realize on Twitter I am very sarcastic, and I think that I'm very dry sarcastic half the time.
Right.
Yeah.
I would love to take some of these issues and just get outraged about them as if they just try to spend a day.
Dude, don't open that can. Do not open that can. Don't open that can.
Oh, so Cyclops is just going to abandon his wife and child?
Wait, and who does he hook up with? A body double of his dead wife.
Yeah, exactly. Like that is. There's so much comedy you can have there, but the problem is my fear. Every time I've kind of started to get myself ready for this, my fear is that people would be like, "Oh my God, he's got a point. I'm mad too now."
Yeah, please don't do this.
I don't think people would get the irony or the joke. I did this bit a while back where I took the Heroes in Crisis format and where the characters talking to the camera, and I put the creators in there complaining about things. As if they were in this thing, and it was a dumb joke, but it was like 99% got it. But man, the one guy who didn't get it just got so salty forever about it.
You really don't get it. Yeah. There's no nuance. You got to remember that. There's no subtlety. There's none of that. There's no irony. There's none of that. And Joe, just remember, not only did he hook up with a woman who was a body double and not only did his wife die, they weren't married yet, I guess. She died sacrificing herself to save everyone else, right? In front of him. He hooks up with that airplane captain, right? The bush pilot lady.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then blows her off to go be with the body double of his dead wife.
Yeah. He was a dick.
Oh, my God.
Pretty consistently.
And then when his dead wife comes back, what does he do? See you, Maddie.
Yeah.
Yep.
The original is back in play. I don't need this copy anymore.
God.
It is funny because in like more recently, people are like, man, I don't like the way Hickman's writing Cyclops. Like he would never betray Jean like this. I'm like, oh, come on.
Are you kidding? He's made of that. Oh, yes. Well, by the way, I should all preface this. I worship Cyclops and feel that he's been done dirty by everyone who's written him and would love to fix all this stuff, but it's too late.
No, I hear you. When Perch and I talked about New X-Men the other week in our retrospective that we did with our buddy Larry, we all agreed that like Cyclops kind of came out looking the best out of everybody.
Yeah.
Like right. in that run, it was like he might be the best out of all these people.
I always picture Cyclops as what's sort of been like, and it's too like I think the ship has sailed, but my idea for Cyclops was he's the Captain America of mutants. Like if you're in trouble and Captain America kicks in the door, no matter what's been going on, you go, oh, thank God Captain America's here, right? Yeah. If you're a mutant and that door comes down and on the other side of it, it was Cyclops, you go, oh, thank God I'm safe. But that's not the Cyclops we got.
Yeah, no, you don't get that feel. It feels like they kind of want it having to go back there, but they're busy getting ready for the election of the X-Men, and it's off track now. We can't go back.
Yeah.
How can they survive this way? You know, the entire world is just going to come and murder everyone.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
10 of delegates is going to.
Yeah, they're acting like. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but they're kind of acting like they own the joint, and I'm like, yes, it's great you all got born with your powers, and there's a lot of you, but there's a lot more people out here, and they didn't get born with their powers, but a lot of their powers are better than yours.
Yeah.
And if you piss them all off at once, you're in trouble.
It's, I don't know. Anyway, it's a strange time. I've been putting these up, but we probably should wind down. I've kept you now for 2 hours. Like,
I don't care.
Yeah, no, this is fun. You know, it's a good time. It's yeah, we got some that's Ramita Jr. on Uncanny.
Oh, I used to love him. Everything he did. Here's the thing too, Perch, if you have something to do, say so. All I have to do is walk my dog.
No, I'm just enjoying talking to you. I'm the worst at this because I always am like, oh man, I'm using these guys' time forever.
Not at all. I used to do this every Wednesday at a comic book shop. Like, this is the closest I've gotten to what I used to do every week at my LCS. And then we all sort of looked up one day and we're like, oh, it's over. We're grown. We're married, some of us, and nobody shows up anymore. It was all very sad and depressing. And this is very close to what we used to do all the time.
It was fun. I love the banter back and forth. People get heated and want to die on the hill. I've told this story a few times, but it sticks in my head as being so insane. There was a guy who had come in who was absolutely convinced that the Silver Surfer was once a DC character, and that DC lost him in a bet at I don't know where they were at exactly, but there was like a card game, and they lost the Silver Surfer, and that's why he's a Marvel character now, but he's originally a DC character, and he would just die on that hill. Like, and there was no convincing him ever. I think he's a politician now, but anyway, it's
where did he get this? What is his?
He had an entire he appeared in this and it was all in his head. Like, none of this was true. Poor thing. It was. I came to love that guy when Shop moved and I didn't see him anymore. I'm like, oh, I miss the Silver Surfer guy.
Oh, that's sad.
He's wish he would come back.
Our guy who the Hulk was everything, and there was different people. I remember there was a day where it was during the No More Mutants run. No, Avengers Deconstructed, and I might have told you this story already. I inadvertently spoiled the end of it because I was so shocked that that's who it was, that I was standing by the counter and the doorway was right near the counter. So the guy who was selling it, I can't say it wasn't Jerry Duggan, might have been. I was like, so let me cut to the end. I don't care. I just want to know who did it, right? And it was like, that was Wanda, just as one of my friends was stepping into the shop, literally. As he was stepping into the shop, and I saw the look on his face like, you didn't. And I was like, yes, I did. I chased him a block. Please forgive me. Two grown men.
Yeah.
Just picture what that looked like.
That's the fun, though. We all smiled, and it was like that. That was fun. That is not what social media is today for talking about comics. It is no. There's such good stuff. And then like this guy here, I've heard these stories a ton too. There's the guy who has insider connections, and he's seen movies or he's seen comics, and they're on the shelf, but he's read them all through and they're awesome. But there's always that guy who would come in the shop who's somehow seen this magical thing.
That never happened. Neither of those things ever happened.
No, none of these things. I think there was always some comic like, hey, there was this top secret comic that Stan Lee wrote a 12-issue Batman series with
right, him and Frank Miller.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, no, it's
sorry guys.
How have you guys? Have either of you seen? As long as it came out today, might as well ask. Have you seen WandaVision? Any interest in that?
That's after we're done here. I'm going to probably check into that. I've been writing all day, man. Like,
there you go.
I got off of that to come do this. I've been so much writing.
I haven't watched it. Maybe I'll watch it after I'm done with this, or I might keep reading. Like, I'll do one of those things. I'll either be reading comics or watching a show about a comic.
That's funny. They've been doing pretty well with these shows, though. Like, I have to say, not Marvel in specific, but most of the shows. You know what's funny? Hellstrom.
Yeah.
No one mentioned it. I stumbled on it on Hulu. It wasn't bad. But
it's not bad at all. Nobody cares, apparently, to promote it. But
they said nothing.
Yeah.
I can't believe how much I enjoyed that Harley Quinn cartoon.
I agree.
That was fun.
I was all anticipating to not really care, because I don't care that much about the character outside the context of the animated series. I was never really following her too much in the comics. I'd never care if she showed up. Like, I was never like, oh God, this is awful. But like, I never went out of my way for Harley content. And then I see the show and I'm like, oh wow, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. I'm exactly the same way. You need to stop it being at day 27. You need to just stop right now. Stop where you are. There's no reason there isn't one. I don't know. There are 7,000+ of these damn people.
We'll get them. They're all these guys are gonna die. Thank you for recommending them.
And literally everyone you've said tonight will die now. I hope you're happy with yourselves. They're all gonna die horribly screaming on camera. So that's your fault. You should know and be ashamed of yourself.
I've liked most of the shows. I like WandaVision. I watched both. It's fun. I won't spoil it for you. But it is funny. I think people are going to come into that, and there's the person who's coming in they're amped up and ready to see the next chapter after Endgame.
Right.
And those people are going to hate it. Because it's totally very, very different. Now it's cool and it's good, but it's not like, if you think you're showing up to see Scarlet Witch like beat some Black Order, you're not getting that. So
I mean, how do you think, all right, this is a good thing because we're all outside of this box right now. How do you think that they've advertised it? Because the promos for it have made it look very weird. I don't feel like I'm expecting a big fight.
No, I think the promos, this is one of those cases where the promos are accurate. Like,
okay,
you get what you're going to see, and it has that kind of creepy vibe to it, but it's also sitcom. But it definitely, the advertising is spot on.
Okay, great.
But it is funny to see some people. I've seen some people with some very angry reactions to it, and it's like, I expected action. I mean, it's like from the black and white poster where they look like a housewife. I'm not sure, but.
Yeah, why would you expect that when they've literally shown you zero action in any of the promo?
Yeah, exactly. Jeff is going to kill Primer. Yeah, thank you.
No, I'm not going to kill Primer.
That team, I will have to, my hat's off to that creative team. They have been just crazy nice. I all kinds of thanks to.
Oh, have they been in touch?
Oh yeah, they've been very, very nice.
Jen is lovely. I don't know the others, but Jen is just a great person.
Yeah. But it's good stuff. I do think if you watch Legion, I think Legion season 1 was a better show, kind of trying to do some of the same things, but it's enjoyable. I mean, what are you going to do? It's like you could watch the Babysitter Club instead if you want, but like, why would you do that? So
wow,
a little bit. It's yeah, whatever. It is. I lost my train of thought completely with that. No, it's not creepy as in Warren Ellis. No, it's not that kind of creepy. Come on.
Wow.
Come on. Come on.
Wow. I mean, it's funny, but wow.
Yeah.
I reached out the window for that joke.
The craziest thing is all the Warren Ellis stuff completely overshadowed the Cameron Stewart stuff. I think people forgot about that already.
What is the Cameron? I didn't even know what that is.
That he was basically accused of very similar sort of things.
This grooming thing?
Yeah, but there were some issues. There were some talks about it being underage and stuff like that too. Like it was really bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
My God.
But the Warren Ellis stuff dropped immediately after that, and then everyone
forgot about it.
Everyone forgot, and it's like I mean, it's a lot to. Unfortunately, it's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
Not to make light of any of that stuff. It's terrible. But yeah, it's interesting seeing what sticks, what doesn't, what people think is important to fight about in terms of what they like and don't like, and who needs to be called out and who they forget about. It's all very weird, and if you think about it too long, your head explodes.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm having this very weird moment where I don't remember putting these covers on this page.
Wow.
So that's where we've come to. This is lots of good stuff.
I haven't seen some of these things. I own almost everything. I think I do actually own literally all but one of these comics, but I haven't seen them. They've been in a storage facility for like a decade. I haven't seen any of these things in so long. Captain Universe.
Yeah, I passed over Longshot up there just because I'm now completely confused as to what's going on here. Yeah, how about that? I mean,
look, early Mike Mignola. Holy crap!
That's right. That was I love that stuff, but probably not the best guy to bring on right after Byrne.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But you may know this. Whatever happened to Ron Frenz? I thought he was, of all the Kirby disciples, he was probably my favorite.
I don't know. Joe, do you know where he is?
No, I don't know, but that's kind of similar. It's a name he gets tossed around a decent amount, and no idea
Weird.
where he went. But some of these people, like what was it? Perch, you talked to the creators of what was it? Cherry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Cherry Pop-Tart.
Cherry Pop-Tart, yeah.
Cherry Pop-Tart, and like everyone else was kind of like, oh, whatever happened to them? And then when like you did that video, they reached out to you and like, we're here.
We're fine. Come buy some more Cherry Pop-Tart.
Yeah. No, it was surreal, and it is. In fact, I'm glad you did. Earlier today, they sent me some information because I said I'd do a follow-up because they have a new website. They've got new comics. They're producing new comics. Which is mind-blowing to me. I mean, it's been forever, but no, they're putting out new comics, and they have Peach Momoko doing variant covers for them.
Wow.
I'm just I couldn't my brain couldn't process all that stuff, but yeah, it's no, there's more Cherry Pop-Tart coming out, and Jeff's going to kill her. So
yeah, the Cherry Pop-Tart lantern will definitely be killed on camera.
But that I love that original long shot miniseries.
Oh yeah,
it was crazy. Was that Ann Nocenti?
Yeah, Ann Nocenti and Art Adams, right?
Oh my god, yeah, it might have been his first big thing at Marvel. That was the craziest. I was like, what is happening?
It was great, and his style was a little grittier back then, and it looks great today. I love that stuff.
It's so good. It's one of the only times I've genuinely enjoyed Mojo in a comic because he's scary.
Yeah, he was. And I think, well, I have a lot of theories about that. I always felt like it was a huge mistake to integrate Longshot into the main continuity. And I think it was a mistake I think it'd have been fine to go to his dimension from time to time, but I never thought it was a good idea for him to just come in and be part of, let's say, the X-Men or whatever. And I always was really bummed out when they integrated the Eternals into the main continuity because it's specifically designed to not be in the main continuity. And then Kirby was dead. And they're like, yeah, we got these guys. Let's use them. And I was like, they don't really fit.
No, I don't know. I read that new Eternals issue too.
Oh, I didn't. Any good?
I didn't care that much for it, and it's a shame because Kieran and Assad Ribic are two of my favorite people in comics. I adore both of them immensely, but I already don't care that much about the Eternals, so I was already going to be a hard sell, and I was kind of leaning on the idea of maybe the creative team was going to be what gets me over the hump, and it was too bogged down in like Eternals continuity and stuff for me to come on board. It's a competent comic. It looks gorgeous, but
it does seem like it falls into a strange trap of trying to adhere to a lot of the continuity, but not because we want to do a new thing and rewrite some stuff on the fly. And it feels like a comic designed to try and tie into a movie that's going to come out someday.
I hate that.
Yeah. It's kind of like, in a way, it's doing a little, and this would probably be controversial for a lot of people in the chat. I thought that Ta-Nehisi Coates, what he originally laid out in Black Panther was helpful from a world building perspective. I thought it put a lot of pieces on the board. Yeah. And it was useful. And I think I don't necessarily think they've cashed in on all those pieces very well, but I think the table he set was good. Eternals feels like it's trying to do the same thing, but not as good, if that makes any sense.
But I absolutely, I want to make this clear too. I do not begrudge anyone from taking a payday. I am thrilled that Assad, Ribic, and Kieran got paid.
Sure. And hopefully they bring their A game, whatever it is. Like, we're not all going to like everything.
No, absolutely. the best with characters I particularly don't care for, and that's how it is.
Well, the secret is they aren't characters. They're archetypes. They were never meant to be characters. Kirby did not write them that way. And anything you inject into them that makes them into any version. The only one of them that was a character was Cersei, right? She had an actual point of view. She did stuff. She was humorous. She, and she ironically worked. Of all of them, was the only one who worked when you put her in the regular continuity. Another character, Kirby, based on his own wife. It's a shock that she has a personality. But the rest of them, they're literally just there to be the thing that they do. So it's like, why are we obsessed with these guys again?
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it would have been better to use them like just in like an event.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then they can go away.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like we're in this really kind of terrible moment where a lot of things were teed up, and then the movies didn't come out and they got delayed, and everybody is lost. That Black Widow comic is completely terrible. But again, they're telling a story about present time, and she's been brainwashed, and the movie's going to be a throwback, and so I mean I don't know. It feels like they're playing darts with a lot of stuff right now.
I mean, the entertainment world is in a crazy tizzy right now. Things keep getting delayed, and I know one of the shows that I was on, we were doing X number of episodes, and the network said, "Okay, you're not doing those last 10 anymore," and they said that to everybody on the network the same day, like all the shows that day. Whatever you've got left, cut it off because we can't afford to make anymore this year because of COVID. COVID compliance cost as much as 10 episodes of a TV show. That's
sure. Yeah.
Oof.
So I know, right? That is a lot of money. A lot of money. And that trickle down has to also be happening in comics because as crappily as they're not really well integrated, they're still somewhat integrated. So, that bums me out. I listened to a Serial Box audio book. It's not really a book. It's kind of a book. Audio presentation. They got the license for Black Panther, Black Widow, Thor. I can't think who else. Jessica Jones.
Yeah,
the Black Widow one was fire. It was great.
Nice. I listened to some of the Jessica Jones one. I have to keep going, but
any good? Because I haven't got to it yet.
It's all right. Vita wrote a bunch of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. I will definitely check that out. And full disclosure, I'm not shilling for them. I'm also a customer, but I did write on their Black Panther licensed property as well.
Oh, awesome.
But I'm not pumping that. Although you should buy it. It just came up a normal flow of conversation.
Tell them Jeff sent you. Yes.
Don't tell them that. Don't say anything. Just buy it if you want to.
That's the best way.
Oh my God.
I mean, if nothing else, looking at all these comics, and not just the old ones, but those stuff coming out of it, I mean, there is enough out there that you can pretty much find something you like.
Yeah, there's got to be something you like. My God. I even, again, going back to this, whoa.
Yeah,
here's a Gil Kane cover?
Yeah, how about this?
God, 2 Gil Kane covers.
Yeah. It's a nice.
And Pat Broderick?
So do you think, by the way, not to interrupt you, but I look at this stuff and I always think, there's the whole trade market and there's omnibuses and other things like this. And they've tried the True Believers line and everything else. But I fundamentally disagree that this art, which definitely was part of an era, people today would read and enjoy this. I don't think people pick this up and go, well, this is clearly the 70s. I wouldn't touch this.
I think it depends on the comic. Like the cosmic stuff, I think can play anytime, anywhere, as long as it's well drawn and all that. Some of the stuff that's set in a more realistic environment, people would notice there are no cell phones or things like that. But no, I think art-wise, strictly art-wise, a good artist is a good artist.
I feel like if I'm somebody at Marvel or DC right now, and I've got access to the archives, I would be trying to get this stuff out in every single place I could. I'd be making digests. I'd be just any way I could pump this stuff out, I would do it. Because I don't know. I've put some of these books in front of a 7-year-old, and she reads it and enjoys it and has a good time. And it really seems more based on the story than the art. It's like, this Iron Man story is boring, but this Fantastic Four story is fun because there's a the Impossible Man's in there, so why not?
Jesus Christ. I was just literally talking to a friend of mine about how insane the Impossible Man is.
Yeah, Roy Thomas loves the Impossible.
Oh my God, that character is just madness. But what I'm looking at is, I'm still looking at adventurous comics in a way that I don't know that I see them all the time anymore.
Yeah.
Like, why would you ever put the Scarlet Witch together with Spider-Man? Like, what is the point of that? Like, it conceptually, like, I don't know why you do that. So it almost makes me have to pick the book up. Like, what would this possibly be about? What do they have in common? A gunfight between the Stranger and Captain Marvel? And is that Rick Jones in his fake Captain Marvel sidekick costume? Good Christ.
Oh, yeah.
Holy crap. And, of course, the perennial battle between the Thing and the Hulk, that used to happen, like, almost annually, didn't it? Like, at some point.
Everyone loved it, yeah.
Oh, my God.
An annual thing. You'll gasp
man.
at our shock ending. It's not just... Actually, I say right there, it's not just another Thing versus Hulk battle.
Right. It's got to...
It's the one for this year.
And again, with controversies, remember, Reed Richards, two things that happened in Fantastic Four that I don't know what people would do if they happened now. One, he lobotomized his own child with a big gun, right? And his wife was cheating on him with Namor. Like, right in the comic. Like,
I love that. I don't remember. It was one of those pitches there about Namor that you did, Joe. It always comes because, as we all know, if there's one thing about Namor, he really wants to fuck Sue.
We did that a couple of times in our
really wants to fuck Sue.
That's the only thing about that character
that's the only thing anyone knows. So just do that over and over again.
But like, it was like, dude, get a girlfriend. Holy crap. She's married. She has a child, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Leave this woman alone, you stalker fish man.
There's plenty of fish in the sea.
Yes.
Literally, for you, that's literal.
It's true. What's kind of starting to come to my mind is we're gonna need to do one of these sarcastic pitches, but invite you, Jeff.
Okay. Oh, I'm a killer on that kind of crap. I love this shit. I just fucking love it. Like, the crazy weird things you could do that you wish someone would try, the pairings of different creators that would never work together, but what if they did? What would they produce? Like, this was like, you're living this not perfect. It's actually, most of adult life is not perfect, but like, some people go to if you're British, you go to your local, right? Your pub. If you're an American, maybe you go to a bar, right? Or you have your weekly poker night, something like that, to take the edge off life, right? Mm-hmm. For me and my other adult friends, we'd show up in our local comic book shop. We'd go to the back of the comic book shop. Sometimes we got a little raucous and they'd tell us to calm down. But mostly it was just, between 6 and 10 guys just like digging on comics.
Yep.
And for about 3 hours every week, we would do that. And then somebody would go, oh, Christ, I got to get home. I got to do my grown-up stuff again. I guess we're going to break it up. And we'd all go home, say goodbye, go back to grown-up life, right? And then come back and do it again next week. And it was just so light and delightful and fun, and sort of letting you remember what it was like to be 11 or 12 or 15 for 5 minutes. Yeah. In a completely benign way, by the way. And nothing sleazy, no ogling girls that were not age appropriate for you. It was none of that crap. It was just, whoa, that Iron Man thing that happened. Was Rhodey smoking marijuana on that panel? What the hell? Like, that kind of a conversation. And I feel like with all the interconnectivity that the internet's given us, it's taken a lot of that away.
It has.
So I thank you, because this conversation is one of the best kinds of conversations, and really the only one of its kind I've had in over a decade. Right?
That's but I'm glad. We need to. This is what it should be. I mean, Joe and I have a lot of fun on here. I feel just really fortunate that I get to talk to both of you tonight, and it's
about City of Namor. Wow, you fickle bastards! How dare you? The book isn't even out yet, and you've already turned on us.
This is right.
Oh my God!
I love that it's fun, and it's combo of, like, you take it seriously, you take it not seriously at the same time. It can be both, and You know, everybody does some good work, everybody does some bad work, and not everything has to be the best comic you've ever read or the worst comic you've ever read, and life's okay.
Yeah. I agree. And it's meant to be, well, I don't know what it's meant to be. It's different for everybody. But I feel like, I don't know that these kinds of characters can sustain all the weight people keep trying to put on them.
They can't. They absolutely can't.
That's why we have indie comics. That's why we have things like The Authority or, you know, I don't even know, Judge Dredd or something like that's not with the comics we've been talking about tonight.
Right.
That's not, they really weren't built for that. And they can't hold up all of this adultness. They just can't. They'll break.
And they can't be everything to everybody. I think it's perfectly reasonable to say, hey, we want to appeal to a wide audience. But, you know, that audience can't be infinite.
No,
it's not possible.
It can't.
And like the same month that Batman's fucking Catwoman on a roof, they release a Batman Learn the Alphabet book.
Yeah. That is not synergy. That is the opposite of synergy. What are you doing?
No, it is very rough. And you watch, I don't know. I've been very puzzled over those, especially over the last 10, 15 years, where there have been a lot, but I guess it goes back further. There have been a lot of successes. You mentioned Rachel Pollack earlier.
Right.
You know, there's been a lot of kind of really innovative things happening, and it's like people get bored or they just, you know, Miles Morales was a big success for Marvel. I think that was a cool thing that they did. And he had a killer movie that came out, and that was cool too.
Yeah.
And now we're getting Clone Saga with Miles Morales, and it's like,
yeah, I mean, I'm not.
It may turn out to be good. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, always try things. I feel like on the creative side, a lot of the guys that get so tense, I feel like, guys, you have to assume you're going to disappoint people. You just have to go in and assume that a segment of your audience, let's just randomly say it's going to be a third. About a third of your audience is going to be like, what the fuck? And you're just going to have to absorb that. And for the buying side, of which I'm still very much a member, like any book I'm not writing, I'm just in the fan base of. Mm-hmm. So when I buy them, I have to understand that it's not always pointed at me. So yeah, I'm not happy. I may have to put the book down for a while, but they're not coming for me with it. Like, they just didn't want to do what I wanted them to do. So I can wait till someone else comes on the book, right? I'll wait a year. Superman's not really dead, guys. He's just not. Batman's back will heal. He will not be broken. It won't be this Azrael guy for the rest of Batman. It just won't. Yeah. So I can relax.
Yeah. No,
Batman's going to Europe. That's right. And he'll solve that mystery. I love these people. They're insane.
We have a great, I mean, in all honesty, you guys in the chat have been awesome. It's easy. I shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm not quite sure how to kick people out of the chat because I've never needed to. So it's awesome. You guys are just great.
Batman Clone Saga with Scooby-Doo as a guest star. I'm reading that book.
I think if you just take things less seriously, everything becomes okay. And then you're surprised when you get a really amazing comic book out of it and remember forever. But otherwise you just kind of have a good time and it's but we all kind of do it to each other. I do cringe every time I see a creator go on social media and say, you know, this other book, because I'm wanting to be friends with this guy. This is the best book that's ever been written in the history of comics. It's like that.
No.
Don't do that. It's not helping.
Just tell the truth about what you enjoy. That's what I would say. It's very simple. If you always tell the truth, you never have to keep anything straight.
Yeah.
Tell the freaking truth. Oh my God! Now you have to stop yourself.
We've got everybody back to City of Bruce. So
City of Bruce, but now Scooby-Doo has somehow entered the fray. It's like we've got a new player.
And Scrappy-Doo.
Oh no!
All right, that's enough. You're all drunk. You're all drunk. It's time for you to go home.
It's you don't have to sleep. You don't have to go home, but you can't sleep here.
Yeah, you can't stay here. Closing time. Last orders, everybody.
Look, Jeff and Joe, I want to thank you so much for spending this time. And I've had such a great time tonight.
I needed a good laugh. I needed some fun. Thank you guys very much. This is so great.
Well, I think we're gonna set up a time for bad pitches. I think that is clearly.
Yeah, let's try bad pitch night sometime. I mean, I will come back when you want me. Basically, if there's time for it, I'll do it.
Oh, absolutely. I always feel. This is the awkward part. I always feel bad asking, but
no, don't ever feel bad. It's always gonna from now on. It's just a matter of can we schedule it.
Excellent. Excellent.
Joe, such a pleasure.
Yes, this was an absolute pleasure. And just so you know, I did pick up Mosaic when that was coming out.
God bless you. You're the one. I knew there was somebody out there.
We like that book. That book makes me angry because we talked about that last time.
So crazy. After we talked about it, I came up with this. Okay, this is how stupid I am about comics. There's not going to be another Mosaic. I'm not pitching another Mosaic. Mosaic is basically dead. If someone else does it, God bless him. But I figured a way to have him come back and just be a straight up superhero.
Okay.
And basically the idea is, like, if you looked at the progress of Mosaic, they asked us to do that weird Marvel Voices thing. And I said, well, I'll just do a 1 page of Mosaic. But from my point of view, everything happened in real time. So the time you have not been seeing the character, he's still been having all these weird ass adventures.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah.
The 1 page we show you, he's about to break into the ruins of the dead Inhuman City to get to the bottom of his origins, right? So that was, a year and a half ago? So since then, he's figured that problem out. And now he's just Mosaic superhero guy, but people don't understand that. And the idea is that every ability, every piece of knowledge, all of that stuff, he's almost like he's the taskmaster.
Nice.
Right? Yeah. But you don't know what his power actually is because he keeps coming up with weird, random things like, why do you speak Japanese for no reason? Like, you know what I mean?
And there's so much you could do with that character.
My God. So anyway, but it'll never happen. So, haha.
Well, we'll do it. So for people in the future, yes, we'll continue to do stuff with Joe. I think we've got some retrospectives we have coming up. Teen Titans.
I'm sorry to interrupt. When does Joe's book drop? When does it actually occur?
That comes out May 5th.
All right. So let's, for sure, no matter what, let's come back.
Yes, we're definitely going to do a big party for that book. And,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I love it. We'll do, like I said, we got the social media thing with Sean Murphy. I've got like 3 other interviews that I've got to get scheduled. So there's lots coming, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. And if you enjoyed the show, you could like. I don't know that like means anything, to be honest. I mean, I appreciate it, but I don't know. The YouTube algorithm, maybe, I don't know. I always feel like douchey asking. So
don't feel like that. It's a show. You don't have commercials.
It's a show. Do what you like. One day I'll get that Patron sponsorship, and then it will all be great. It's great. Anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thanks for getting to talk to Joe and Jeff, and we'll chat with you again next week.
Be well, guys.
That's great. Have a good one, everyone.
Have a good weekend. Be safe.
Bye.